welcome to Black Cat Panther Podcast. This is the experience. You already know what time it is, everybody. This is the showdown versus show. One Carolina is in the building, and we got a special host today. John, how is you feeling? How you feeling today?
Man, I feel great, man. I appreciate y'all having me on today, man. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm super excited, man. I mean, the draft is 24 hours away, man, and I'm like, I don't know whether to do jumping jacks or to get some sleep. I don't know if I'm gonna sleep at all tonight. Like, I'm stoked.
Man, I'm the same way. I had butterflies all day. I was walking around work, and look, when I got from one store to the next, the first thing I said, no, it can't be Levis. No. Let's not do this today. It's just like nuggets in the back of my head. I'm like, no, Frank didn't say that. No, that's not what he meant. So, I've been playing with myself on this one, pause. Let that go. But anyway. Look, welcome to Black Cat Panther Podcast, man. It's a pleasure to have you in the building today, man.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here, man. I am very glad to be here.
Hey, man, popping GOAT. How y'all feeling down there tonight?
Hey, feeling good, man. Feeling good. Glad to have one Carolina on. Finally.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
yes,
we're
sir.
glad to invite John in the house, man. We're glad to see you.
Thank you.
So, to everybody who's not familiar, this is the host of the One Carolina Podcast. Could you take us back, man, to anyone that doesn't know you? Can you please explain to us how did you come into finding One Carolina, the podcast? A little bit about the background of who you are.
Mm-hmm. So, I've always enjoyed being creative. I have a background in I guess graphic design and videography and things like that. Like, I used to be a videographer in the music industry, which I kind of still dabble in that from time to time. But I knew that I wanted to get into this YouTube space. And like, I've always loved the Carolina Panthers. Anybody that's ever known me knows that I'm a huge fan of the team. And so I wanted to just kind of find a way to talk about them and make it tasteful. And then I ran across, I jumped on YouTube, and I would go online, like anytime the Panthers would play, or if there was a story that I wanted to read about, I would typically go on Google and just, Google, and I see like Cat Crave and, some of the other like Panthers on Tap and stuff like that, the websites that are out there. But then one day I got on YouTube and I was like, well, let me check out what's going on here. And I saw, the first person I saw was Pat Coltrane. And so I watched some of his stuff and, really liked what he was doing. And then I became a super fan of Big Cat with Keep Pounding TV. And so that's what actually catapulted me. Like, okay, I'm gonna do this. Like, I'm gonna try this. I just want to see, what this is about. Let me see if I can, pull this together. So I would call in a couple of times or whatever, and I'd go back and forth with everybody. And like I mentioned to you backstage, like, I'm very long-winded. You know what I'm saying? So like, I knew that there were some points that I wanted to make, and I was like, okay, well, let me do this. Like, I've signed up, and I thought about a name forever, and I was like, man, I don't know if you guys ever seen the movie The Founder. But it's about Ray Kroc, the guy that he didn't necessarily found McDonald's, but he took the McDonald's idea and made it what we know it to be today. And, when he met those brothers, he immediately knew that he wanted to be a part of it because of the name. He was like, it's not a gimmicky name. It's not like, burger this or, blah, blah this or whatever like that, something gimmicky like McDonald's. It sounds, like American, and like when I was thinking about this space, I was like, okay, One Carolina, like 2 states. I'm from Asheville, North Carolina, but I live in Greenville, South Carolina. You know what I'm saying? And the mantra for the Carolina Panthers has always been 2 states, 1 team. And I saw One Carolina out there. It's not like I invented this or nothing, but it's like, you know what? I like that name. I'm going to use that name. And so here we are.
Greenville, South Carolina. Look, fam, I'm in Charleston. Look.
Oh, wow. We right down the road.
Yeah. That's big, man. So how long have your podcast been here now?
So I dropped my first video in March of 2020 during the pandemic, like the very beginning of the pandemic. And man, it took me forever. Like, it was, I say it took me forever. Like, it took me a while to edit it, and I probably overcompensated a lot. Very first video on my channel was who will be quarterback of the Carolina Panthers in 2020. And when I dropped it, I was like, terrified. I'm like, man, people gonna hate this or whatever. And it kind of did better than I expected. So I was like, okay, let's do it again, and let's do it again. And then I started just experimenting with different things. And I remember the first time I ever went live, man. And like, when you have like a team of people with you, like it kind of takes the pressure off, and you don't feel as like, just isolated. Bro, when I tell you the first time I went live, you might not be able to tell by looking at it, but if you go back and look at my first live, I was scared to death. Like, I remember going live even like way later. I went live for a preseason game, and I gave away a J.C. Horn jersey when we drafted him. And I remember being on for like all of maybe 20 minutes. And then I jumped off, and I mean, I was just pouring sweat, man. I was just so nervous. And I'm like, man, if I told you some of the people that I've been in front of, some of the rooms that I've been in, stuff like that, like, you would laugh and be like, you were scared for YouTube? I'm like, yeah, man, because like I'm so used to being the guy behind the scenes, and now I'm like, out there, it's like it's different. You know what I'm saying? But like I've gotten much more comfortable now, and so, but I really enjoy it. It's a lot of fun.
Look, I'm in the same boat as you. When I first got started, I was in my garage, and look, I got my beginners from Big Cat as well too. And so look, it was interesting me talking. I would lose my train of thought. I would sweat. I would do it all. And I just had to get to the point where I just got comfortable doing this type of stuff and talking in front of cameras, man. It made me comfortable later on.
Yeah. Yeah.
So with that being said, right now, your biggest challenge that you've seen this far as a podcaster?
For a while, it was consistency with stuff that was going on, like in my personal life or whatever, related to like, just different stuff I had going on there. But like now that consistency is out of the way, I would say the biggest thing is like no pun intended, tempering my expectations. Right. I have like, I'm the guy that always wants to go home run. It's so crazy. I just told Keeb this the other night, and I'm preaching this to him, because I needed to hear it from myself. I'm the guy that's like, yo, every time I go up to the plate, it's Ricky Henderson, baby. Like, well, I'm going yard. You know what I'm saying? Like, but the reality is that that's just not the case. Like, you might go to bat and you might, absolutely smoke one 500 feet, but the games are typically one with base hits. And so I'm like, yo, let me just continue to base hit, and whatever's the home run will be the home run, and what's not is what's not. But nothing is idle. Everything means something. It's either a learning experience, something I can do to grow, to get better, something I can add, something I can take away, or whatever like that. So just making sure that my expectations are staying like level-headed, because if not, I've been known and prone to like start something, become good at it, and not see a result from it and be like, yeah, let me try something else. You know what I'm saying? And so I knew in this space there was no way I was going to do that, because I know it's a long-term play.
I agree 100%. Look, I've been through those battles of consistency myself, man. And I don't know, like you just seen, Black Cat Panther Podcast, but there's been uphill battles, there's been downhill battles on this channel of me just trying to be consistent in the Panther world and just getting content out to the people, because I feel like they need to see some of the stuff. A lot of people, like I was sitting, and I was that guy that was sitting there saying, I gotta have a voice. I feel like my voice should be heard, because a lot of the stuff that we all going through, when I get to the barbershop, I'm talking Panther talk while everybody else is over there talking about Green Bay and all that. And I'm sitting here listening to them talk about the Green Bays, and I'm hearing the Tampa Bays, and nobody talking about Panther. And it's like in my area, people don't take us serious. And so it's like I have to, I got to fight everywhere I go, John. Everywhere I go, I got to fight. You're not going to talk about my Panthers.
Let me say this, Q, real quick. And I know this is a complete like sidebar to what you just said, but I made a strong tweet about our jerseys, because I saw what Arizona did, and not for nothing. Like I don't not like the Arizona jerseys. Like I think they straight. It's because I like simple. Like the way I design my channel, the way I dress and stuff like that. Like I buy the stuff everybody else buy. I'm a sneakerhead. I buy Jordans and stuff like that. But I don't try to put like, the Ed Hardy with the ripped jeans and the, all this other, what I'm saying? Like I like the simple, just, clean aesthetic, right? And the reason I was fighting about the jersey is because I'm like, man, I think the first step in us establishing ourselves as a like storybook franchise or a storied franchise like the Green Bays or the Steelers or, you know, the Giants or any of these other like long-term franchises is to keep some tradition. Like we have to hold on to some tradition. And I personally just love the block numbers of the jersey, the old school varsity look that our jerseys have. We made a couple of like, you know, minor tweaks here and there, but I'm glad they didn't jump out the window and like change the number structure and put, you know, stripes everywhere and all that kind of stuff. I'm like, nah, man, like I like that. And I think that that will carry as this team starts to get better. So the very thing that you said about people not really liking us, we become more recognizable. Now, sometimes that can work because like if you Seattle and they made that change, it worked for them tremendously. You know what I'm saying? But for us, I just feel like we got a lot of history with the way that this jersey looks, and we should just build on top of that.
I agree 1,000%. You know, somebody said this on this podcast was one of the stupidest things I ever heard, but I always remember it. They say, yeah, when we dress better, we play better. Yeah.
I will say this though, Q, man, we gotta mix it up this year. We can't have like white jersey, you know, 13 out of the 17 weeks of the year, man. We gotta the blue. I think the blue is in my opinion, and I know a lot of people like the all black or whatever like that. To me, the blue and the white, that's the hardest uniform in the league.
I like the blue on blue, man. Like the blue on blue for me is
the color rush.
The color rush. Oh my gosh. Hey, when the color rush come out, you can't tell me anything. I'm in the house just running around like, all right, y'all know what's happening. We gonna win. We gonna definitely go bring the energy today.
Right.
But I'm that type of fan, you know. Like when I get the BOA and I'm down there, I'm hyped up all day long.
Yeah.
So without further ado, you know we had to get to the topics that's trending right now, the topics that's going out right now, the Carolina Panthers and the quarterback situation. Whew. John, how are you feeling about, well, first of all, who do you potentially see as a guy that you like for the Carolina Panthers? And who do you think is the next best candidate? Because we got a bevy of guys that we could take at number one. How you feeling?
Obviously, I make no bones about it. And if anybody watches my channel, they know my bias. I'm Bryce all day long, all day and tomorrow. Because because I feel like it goes without question that he's the most pro ready. But it's not just that. Like I heard something today. I was listening to Colin Cowherd, and he was talking about Frank Reich and quarterbacks that play under him, right? And he talked about how I think it was Andrew Luck, you know, before Frank Reich was like hovered around 60% average completion percentage for his career. And then he got around Frank and he jumped up to like 67 or something crazy, almost 70% completion percentage, right? Carson Wentz, but the year before he got with Frank Reich, I want to say threw something in the neighborhood of, you know, maybe 10 plus interceptions or whatever like that. And then like the year that he was with him, I think he was, you know, below double digits. So Frank Reich has a history of being able to take quarterbacks and make them better. So I don't think there's a quarterback in this draft that he couldn't take and make a serviceable quarterback. But here's why I like Bryce. Because if the projection is what you see right now, and there's a potential for that projection to get even better, I look at it like akin to what I've seen with Andy Reid for years. How long did we see Andy Reid with McNabb, Kevin Cobb, Michael Vick, all these different quarterbacks he had over this span of time, but he never closed the deal, never got the Super Bowl, right? And then he gets Patrick Mahomes. And it's like, okay, I can seal off a couple of things that I don't have to continue to keep teaching and have you learn over and over again. And now I can open up the playbook even more. And that's the difference. It's like with Anthony Richardson, sure. I believe that Anthony could come in and start day one and he'll make, for what he can't do reading the field, he'll compensate with what he has athletically, because that, you know, he'll come into the NFL, in my opinion, and probably be the most athletic quarterback on day one. You know what I'm saying? So like, but the thing is that you got to teach more fundamentals. You can't open up the playbook as much, you know, stuff like that. And I feel like Bryce just gives you that opportunity. Like, I don't even know if you draft a guy like Bryce, we don't even know if we've seen the best of Frank Reich. For all we know, Frank Reich could be the next, like, you know, Bill Walsh or Marv Levy. You know what I'm saying? Having a guy like that, that's your quarterback, that's a field general, and you can open up the, you know, playbook even more. The only downside I will say is this, and this is what I think a lot of the interviews answered. With guys who are field generals, you know, or guys who have kind of their, you know, their ways and they're set in their ways and stuff like that, sometimes it can be hard to break that. Sometimes it's like, hey, we need you to play within structure, you know, and they may buck against that, not because they want to be stat patters, but because of how they see the game. And I think the interview process, Nick Saban coming out saying what he said, and all these other people, you know, watching Steve Smith gush over this guy, and, you know, Cam today and all this other kind of stuff. It's like they see that he understands that I play within the confines of who I am, but I'm also willing to learn and to lead at the same time. So the size doesn't really bother me that much. And the reason is because from a weight perspective, it's like he's not going to play at 190 his whole, or 180, whatever it is, his whole career. Like he'll bulk up because he'll just get bigger as a man. But the height thing doesn't bother me because it's like, okay, like I know a lot of people are like, well, what about Baker Mayfield and all the batted passes? Well, what about it? Because we had a 5'11" PJ Walker who was shorter, who didn't struggle with that problem. And we got a 6'6" almost Justin Herbert, who was, I think, second in the league with batted passes. So I'm there's an answer for everything if it makes sense. So yeah, I'm Team Bryce, bro.
Go. I'm about to let you get it in a minute. I know you itching, but before you do that, how do you feel about C.J. Stroud, and where does he fit in your world when it comes to the Carolina Panthers?
I think there's a misconception with C.J. Stroud, like the S2 cognition, for example, right? Like I know that that's been a big thing. I don't think that the S2 cognition can directly correlate if you have a bad score that you can't play football. Because he said today, I'm not a test taker. You know what I'm saying? I'm a football player. And I agree with it. I think the thing with the S2 cognition is not if you can process information, how fast can you process information? And for those who would argue, well, he can do it fast. You really got to watch his tape, because it's not that he can't do it, because he does have a lot of open targets. He's played with a lot of great receivers, and that should not be a knock. Joe Burrow played with a lot of great receivers. That should not be a knock on him. But go watch the time that it takes for him to process between read one, especially if he's field side. If he's field side, if I'm looking, left and I'm going to the boundary, sometimes that tick of time right there is a lot slower for him than it is for some other guys, which is why when you look on that grid under pressure, he falls so much lower than the rest of the quarterbacks that are in the draft class, or even some of the ones that are in college football right now, which, not for nothing, Caleb Williams was like head and shoulders above everybody. Like if he came out this year, Bryce wouldn't even be we'd be like, Chicago wouldn't have traded the pick if he came out this year. You know what I'm saying? Because it's just that level. But the point is like this, like I said, under pressure. But we saw him answer that. The biggest question would be for me with C.J. Stroud is this. Number one, does David Tepper give you the time to be able to allow him to develop? Because look at what we're seeing with Jared Goff right now. I believe the Lions will be a playoff team this year, in my opinion. I think they'll run that division. I think they'll overtake Minnesota in that division, as a matter of fact. And Jared Goff has improved year over year over year. Well, what was one of the knocks on him coming out? And the reason why he's a comp is because of the processing speed. The game is slower for guys like Bryce already, right? But here's where I'll throw CJ some bail, because I said this about Will Levis, so I got to say it about him. I watched Ryan Day's interview today on The Herd, and you could hear the layered language of Ryan Day basically suggesting that, well, we didn't give him, like, CJ's one of the smartest players I've ever coached. But Ryan Day's system is predicated on what he does and his giving you the one read to go to and an option or a hot, but he doesn't get the opportunity or the leverage to make checks at the line of scrimmage or to adjust as he would like to. So to be honest with you, Q, it's possible that we don't really know what CJ Stroud is, because when you look at the tail of the tape, is CJ the guy that you saw versus Georgia, or is he the guy versus Iowa and Michigan that struggled under pressure? You see what I'm saying? Because the situation happened twice. And It could be that they open things up a little bit more. Because I argued this, because I know a lot of people were telling me like, yo, well, CJ should have beat Georgia. What many would say is a better Georgia team. I would disagree. I think Bryce, when he carved up Georgia for 421 in that SEC championship game, was a better defense, because that was against Travon Walker. That was against Jalen Carter. That was against Nakobe Dean. That was against Jordan Davis. Like, there were some guys out there, bro. I think 5 or 6, 7 of those guys went in the first round last year. You know what I'm saying? So they had some guys, bro. And he carved them up. But what happened the second time? They lost in the title game. I wonder, like, okay, if Georgia had the scouting report on CJ Stroud, not accounting for the fact that he would rush and move around like he did because he didn't really do it all year, would that outcome have been different? You see what I'm saying? Like, would they have smoked them? But then again, would CJ, if he had Jackson Smith and 𝐥𝐤, would he have, dealt him up the next time around? You just don't know. So with CJ, I just think it's a lot more projection than it is for Bryce. It's a little bit more clear picture with Bryce than it is for CJ, in my opinion.
The one knock that I got for CJ Stroud in that Georgia game was in the second half. Like I said, he put up 28 points on him real fast in a hurry.
Mm-hmm.
And then after the second half, you come out, you score 7, and then you only put up 3 points in the fourth quarter. And you allow a kicker to determine that game, which to me, I am not a big proponent on letting kickers determine if you win or lose a game. Mm-hmm. Because yes, it has come down to some people, and I know people will always argue me with Tom Brady won 3 Super Bowls with Adam Vinatieri kicking in the snow. Okay, I get you. I got it. He beat us for one of those Super Bowls.
Yeah.
So that hurts. It still hurts to this fact. But
John Casey lost that game for us.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. But I've never been a proponent of allowing a kicker to get us in positions and have to kick our way out of these games. And CJ, I like him. The processing skills for me is just, it's a little slower than usual. And like I said, it's a lot easier to do when you have Marvin Harrison Jr. or, like you said, Smith and 𝐥𝐤, which he wasn't there majority of the year. He got hurt. But, having these all-world receivers where you don't have to work as hard, of course you're going to look like a ball placement specialist when you just throw it in the area and boom, it's right over their shoulder. And all they got to do is, boom, put their arm around and make a freak catch that nobody else can really make in their class. I'm just saying, I'm not high on CJ Stroud, and I was on the CJ Stroud wagon at one time. I gave him a chance. I liked him. I sat back and I watched Michigan and I watched Georgia, and I said he is possibly one of the safest picks we could have. Yeah. And then I got to thinking and I said, safe ain't always good, because that means when you look over and he looking over to the line of scrimmage and he waiting for. Look, he got to get help every step of the way. He's not calling his own blitzes. He's not seeing what he looks on the field. He's not able to deduce what's going on there. He has to look over to the side and always get help. And he don't call his own plays. There's a lot of different things with CJ that I'm sitting there trying to figure out how much of that can he bring over to the NFL.
And that's where the interview process, sorry to cut you off, but that's where the interview process is going to be vital, because Q, I can level with you on that, but the fact is that we just don't know. Let me give you an example. A perfect example of that is Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott gets drafted to Dallas, right? Coming out of a Dan Mullen offense where it was pretty much looking over at cardboards with a chicken, an egg, and Super Mario on it for different play calls, right? Comes into the NFL. Nobody even knows that this guy can make full field reads. And then he starts in a preseason game and absolutely lights up the Chargers. And then they're like, okay, well, where did this come from? And it's like, okay, let's give him some more. Jason Garrett started opening up the playbook even more. And you realize, like, man, we got something. And short of an Aaron Rodgers, and Jared, what's my man's name that played for South Carolina, the tight end, Jared Cook. Jared Cook. Yeah. Miraculous play on the sideline. Dallas may beat them and be in the NFC Championship in his rookie season. You know what I'm saying? And so that's what I'm saying. You just don't know how those things work out. I've made the argument before, like, in this era of football, bro, I believe Robert Griffin would have went crazy with the RPO, because they were trying to run an iteration of that with Kyle Shanahan before, but he was the one that didn't want to continue doing that. But in this NFL, where it's like when you see Jalen Hurts going crazy, why do you think Robert Griffin was still trying to get into the league? Because he realized, like, I kept telling people I want to be Peyton Manning. Like, nah, I want to do what these dudes are doing. So he was just a little bit too early. He was too ahead of his time. But that's what I'm saying. Like, you just don't. Go ahead.
Oh, no. I was getting ready to say, because I remember it was his. He was listening to. He always go up. He would go against Shanahan, and that's the problem that created the friction with him and Shanahan. Yes, that got him on the outs. That's. I got you now. I got you.
Yeah. So. And this is no knock on Stroud, but at the same time, I will say this too. I'm also not going to be. We can't just look at the stuff that we're seeing, matching up the under pressure, sometimes struggling with reads, and then the S2 cognition, and just be like, oh, it's nothing. You know what I'm saying? Oh, y'all hating on CJ. No, we just looking at the facts. And I think if you like Bryce, it doesn't mean you hate CJ. Like, if we draft CJ tomorrow, would I be shocked? Yes, I would be shocked. But would I be on board? Hey, absolutely. He's our guy now.
Now, John, I don't mean to cut you off, but what you just said is when it comes to the cog test, it does matter. Am I hearing you correctly in my headphones? Because I had a lot of my people tell me that just don't matter. It's made up. A lot of the ignorance that come through.
I'll put it to you like this. I heard a guy that he wasn't one of the administrators of the test, but he was like closely connected. And this is what he said. I want to say this guy's name was Rick. He said, the guys who score solid on the test, it doesn't mean that these guys are going to translate to become great players. And let me make sure I make this aware. The S2 and the Wonderlic are not the same test. You know what I'm saying? The Wonderlic is one test. The S2 is a speed test. Notice, when that guy went on Pat McAfee's show a couple, like yesterday or day before or whatever like that, and he talked about a player, he wouldn't say that it was CJ. I don't even know if I believe it was CJ because of how he was framing it up. It sounded like it was Hendon Hooker and not CJ. But what he was saying was, okay, the guy was tired. It was 11 o'clock or whatever like that, which, not for nothing, Q. I brought this up and people start disliking my video, but I was like, not for nothing. It's possible that could have been a setup, because we want to see how you handle it. Because the one thing I will say is this: whoever it was that he was talking about, that story didn't come out about the rest of the guys. There was no story about like, oh man, he was tired, he was frustrated, all that kind of stuff. It's like, nah. If you throw the test at me whatever time it is, listen, I'm getting ready to be a CEO of a multi-billion-dollar industry. They're gonna make me a millionaire overnight. Of course they can give you that test. Forget what everybody else says online. Forget what we say or anything like that, whether you for it or against it. If I'm getting ready to pay you all this money, it's perks of the job, man. Guess what? Take the test. Who cares what time it is?
Study for it, John. I don't understand it. They give you time to study for it. That to me is a red flag more than anything, because that means you didn't take it seriously. You didn't sit down, because they're going to be paying you millions of dollars to take time to really focus on your future. This is your future and how you put into how you process stuff. And the fact that you couldn't take that seriously. And then from what I understand, and this is the way how I looked at it, when he went on Pat McAfee, I believe that the outcry and the outrage was so big, he had to come out and put a statement out there, because what you can do, what this test is going to basically affect this guy's draft status.
Yeah.
And so that was a cleanup job to me. If look, the guy made an 18, Hendon Hooker made a 46, Anthony Richardson had a 79, Bryce had a 98. These guys took the time to actually, I think Levis had a 93, from what I remember. Now, if these guys who are above 80 and above, and they said 80 and above is elite for this, am I right? They said that's elite, right?
Yeah.
If they took the time to study for this test and come out and show themselves approved, I know better. They can do better. See, there's no excuse for CJ Stroud. There's no excuse for Hendon Hooker. I like both of those guys, but to me, both of those guys did themselves a disservice if you're not going to take it seriously. That's all I'm saying.
I would agree with that. The only thing I will say is this. Again, that Rick guy said this. He said, the people that have taken this test, and I'm going to answer that question, Panther Nasty, but the people that take this test don't, at the higher percentile, it's not a trajectory to say that they're going to be great, but the people at the lower percentile, and I'm just quoting what he said, because obviously molds are meant to be broken, man. You see things all the time. Who's to say that if Kurt Warner took that S2 test that he didn't make a 7, but he had time to go develop himself and come back into the league and become an MVP and a Hall of Famer and a Super Bowl champ, right? Who's to say that Rich Gannon, who won an MVP late in his career, wouldn't have scored a 5? You know what I'm saying? Like, you just don't know. The thing is that in this NFL with the salary cap and how fast things move, development doesn't happen as much as it used to or can for some guys. You know, some guys Geno Smith is a great example of this. Like, Geno might not have scored the greatest on that test, a long time ago, but look at him now. And I think Geno's going to go on to have a great career from this point forward, because the game has slowed down for him, because that's what I think the cognition thing is about. Cognition is more about what do you see and how fast do you see it, not so much about if you can read what's there. Like, if I gave you, let me give you an example. because I think this is what the test is predicated on. So like if I gave you 4 rows, right, and I gave you 4 rows full of circles and I put a triangle there, they're going to time you on how fast you see the triangle. And they may move it to different spaces. You see what I'm saying? Like you'll see that sometime on like Facebook and stuff. Like somebody will post something and be like, find the numbers. You know what I'm saying? And like, how fast could you find that number? Where's Waldo? And put a time frame on it for you. And if you see it, it's not that you don't ever see it. It's the fact that you didn't see it fast enough in the time frame that they gave you to see it. And I think that's where the cognition comes in. And not for nothing, when you look at the correlation, when you see how fast that Bryce Young processes on the field, you can see how it does correlate. But that's just right now. That doesn't mean it always has to be that way. And that's why I think what we get lost at. But let me say one more thing, and then I'm going to give you the floor to move on. I'm going to read you a quote. Why should we have to go to class if we came here to play football? We ain't come to play school. Classes are pointless, says Cardale Jones.
Wow. Well, and we talk about this all the time. We say, hey, with those guys making the money that they make off the NIL now, you see less of these guys aren't really taking the grades in the book seriously.
No.
So, I mean, think about it. Half of these guys you think in classes they're supposed to be learning something to keep them as sharp as they should, they aren't. I mean, they're getting passed along because they're millionaires, they're athletes, they're the next big thing in the world, and they're getting pushed along. Yes. But I know my dog G.O.A.T been itching to get at you about Bryce.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, G.O.A.T, I'm going to slide myself to the bottom, and I'm going to let you have your moment.
Well, John, see, and now, John, these guys are, I'm just echoing what y'all said. These guys are semi-pro football players now, basically. Absolutely. Like now, all this money, NIL we was talking about, and these facilities, out hundreds of millions of dollar facilities that they're in for football, basketball, whatever program that school is in, Power 5 schools or whatever. They really, there's no such thing as a student athlete anymore.
Right.
I mean, like I said, they're semi-ball players. And like you said, you just read that quote from CJ.
No, that was from Cardale Jones.
Yeah. Oh, from Cardale Jones. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, but that's how they're thinking today. That is today's semi-pro player, not today's not yesterday's student athlete.
And let me say this, Kendall, just to kind of add on to what you were saying. What's interesting, though, is that you just like you couple together pieces of the S2 test to determine where, like when you look at it from Bryce's perspective, right? And it's one piece of a big puzzle. I will say this, and this may anger some of you, but I got to throw this out there. When you look at his quote today, I'm talking about CJ Stroud. Go look at CJ Stroud's quote today. What was it? Was it necessarily a defense of the score, or was it more, hey, stop talking bad on my name? It was more like, I ain't no test taker. What goes on the field? I'm 10 toes down and stuff like that. And then you get the Mike Lombardi quote about, I don't know if he's necessarily the best guy to coach. Then you get the Manning, whole Manning, mess or whatever like that, even though that was debunked. Whether or not it's true or not, who knows? And it's just like, could we not fairly put some of that stuff together too and be like, you know what? Maybe he's just not the right guy. You know what I'm saying? Like, and look, there's nothing. It's not to say that he can't change, and maybe this could be a wake-up call. We just don't know. You know what I'm saying? But like, it'll be interesting to see how this plays out over time. I'll just say that.
Facts. I give you that 100%.
And then, like my guy Panther Nasty said, does it bother us that we're getting ready to draft the smallest guy in NFL history? And I know you just said the size doesn't matter, John. I know you just said that, but it's scared, bro. I'm gonna tell you, it scares the hell out of me.
Kendall, I'll say this: I may say that it doesn't matter based on what we've seen on tape, but I'm gonna share your sentiment. Does it scare me? Yeah, but here's the thing. This is the thing I think we got to look at, man. Suppose Bryce gives us, if we're looking at this from a 10-year perspective, then yeah, you should be terrified, because is Bryce likely to last 10 years in the league? I don't know. You know what I'm saying? But what year is Patrick Mahomes in right now? In like year 5, year 6?
Yeah.
6?
Yeah.
Going into year
6 already?
Yeah, because he got a big contract 2 years ago. Yeah.
He's been in the AFC Championship every year of his career.
Yeah.
He's been in the AFC Championship every year of his career. He's won 2 Super Bowls, been to 3. To me, if Bryce gave us half of that, he'll be the best Panther quarterback. Like, he'll get a statue outside the bank. If he gets a Super Bowl, even if it's just in 1 year, you know what I'm saying? And then guess what? Retool. What I care about from this quarterback is this. I'm not looking at, man, 10 years from now, this dude going to be a Hall of Famer. So yeah, that's cool to think about. But like, man, look at what we are as a franchise. You talked about it, Q. When you go in the barbershop and stuff, we getting laughed at. Why? Man, we ain't never, if you want to count the 7-8-1 season, be my guest. But prior to that, tell me the last time we had back-to-back winning seasons consecutively.
We haven't had it.
We haven't.
1 year we here, or next year we losing, or the next year after that, the Saints were taking it. I mean, you got to look at it. We have never consistently won it back-to-back. And like you said, we don't count that 7-8-1 season. 12-4. I mean, we've done it, but it's a cheat code to me.
Yeah, I agree. And then suppose this. So on top of that, suppose that this guy comes in, and let's just say that we get, 2 conference titles, go to an NFC championship, consistently win at least 10 games or more each season. Let's say that he's Andy Dalton for us with the Bengals, but it sets us up to be a more stable franchise. That's a win to me. That's a win. It might not lead us to a Super Bowl right away, but it's a win for us to have some stability.
I can see that, but see what you just said sets us up. So we're setting ourselves up for the future. And then you alluded to talking about the first year that Alabama played Georgia, when they had, like you said, 8 or 9 guys on that defense that went to the NFL. But Bryce had so much over there on Alabama. I mean, those pretty much were the 2 evenest teams that could have played for that national championship. I think you have to give Bryce so much on that offensive side of the ball that probably our defense is going to struggle, and we're not going to play complimentary ball because you have to do so much for Bryce as far as the offensive line. We have to have a killer offense just to protect him so he can stay upright, as small as he is.
Okay, so I got 2 points to that. Number one, what evidence other than, like I said, the only reason that we can't answer that question for CJ is because we didn't get to see it twice. Like, how do we say if CJ played Georgia a second time, even this Georgia, the Georgia that won the title this year, that absolutely beat the dog crap out of TCU? How do we know if that Georgia were to play CJ again, like they did Bryce, and they got tape on him, they got a scouting report now, you know what I'm saying, seeing the tendencies of him to scramble in certain situations, how do we know the outcome isn't similar? But when all things were equal, like you mentioned, if you want to give CJ the fact that he didn't have Jackson Smith-Njigba, I will give you that credit. But when all things were equal, I watched little man, mini me, whatever you want to call him, like Mike. I watched him carve them dudes up 421. I wish I had my ether drop. You know what I'm saying? Because he carved these dudes up for 421, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't. Here's the thing. Kendall, I always said this because I have the same kind of, going into this, I had the same kind of thoughts that you guys had. You want me to tell you a secret? You want to know who my number 1 quarterback was before all the quarterbacks named that they would be going? Because I knew Caleb Williams wasn't going. My number 1 quarterback going into this draft class was Michael Penix Jr. And that's a name that look for him next year. Michael Penix Jr. was the guy that I told Cody offline. I was like, yo, Michael Penix is it, bro. And when you look at him under pressure and stuff like that, his numbers are right up there. The only reason that Michael Penix wasn't talked about as much is because when he transferred from Indiana to Washington, he was hurt like all the time. And he had 1 solid non-injury season. So if we see it again, and suppose we see Hendon Hooker end up starting this year and he's successful, I think Michael Penix will jump up the board because of what happened with Hendon. You know what I'm saying, this year. But here's the thing. The other thing is this. I always look at, like, what evidence do I have to support a specific claim? You talked about having boisterous offensive lines. If this guy is as projected, because many people say from a production perspective, he could have the Watson, Mahomes kind of clutch gene and, make guys around him better. We saw that this year. He didn't have John Mechie this year. He didn't have Garrett Williams this year. Or is it, was it Garrett Williams? Right.
Garrett Williams.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Without that,
He didn't have those guys this year.
He didn't look like he did the previous year.
Man, I could argue he looked better, man. I could argue he looked better.
Come on now. Come on,
I could argue he looked better, bro.
Like that bright guy. Come on now.
I could argue he looked better. And listen, I know who you pulled for because I got some very candid and complimentary words for your guy too. But let's flesh this out. Pause. But here's the thing. If the projection is that, bro, look at what they did in Kansas City. I talked about this on my live one time, and people was like, it took a minute for people to grab it. And I was like, and then one of my homeboys was like, yo, just thinking about the possibilities. It's like, okay, let's say that everything that we think that could happen doesn't happen. And what you see does project. And he has that Mahomes kind of flavor or flair or whatever like that. Mahomes lost Tyreek Hill. They gave him protection, which is what he lacked in that Super Bowl against Tampa. And look what he did last year. Now, if you want to make the argument that Juju got held, okay, I'll give you that. But he won the Super Bowl. He is due an 07 Brady year. And I've made a prediction that I think that Justin Jefferson is going to end up in Kansas City. One of these big-time young receivers is going to go out there, and he's going to have an 07 Brady year. I think Mahomes can potentially have a year where he goes undefeated and actually close the deal because he was able to do that with guys who are number 2 and 3 receivers on most teams. You see what I'm saying? So, like, if this guy is any bit of that, then yeah, I would invest heavily in the offensive line and protection because you don't have to give him the best weapons. Man, listen to Smitty. When Smitty was in that interview talking to that boy during the pro day, he said, man, you threw the corner out a half step ahead of the guy. He said, look, I could have laced them up. I can't do nothing. But I was just like, man, the display, the way that you throw this ball, that I listen to the guys like that, man, Luke, Cam today, Smitty. I mean, Smitty said right there in front of the guy, like Smitty was throwing the first person to throw shade on C.J. Stroud. He said, man, I would be honored if you're the number 1 pick of the Carolina Panthers. I'm like, Smitty, you work for the team. You can't do this on NFL. You know what I'm saying? Like, you shouldn't do that. It's just not professional courtesy. But like, I'm telling you, man, they see the same things that most of us see with this guy. But your concerns are valid. So I'm not, to answer your question, Panther Talk, if you're still there, those concerns about him being too small are valid concerns, but it's a risk I'm willing to take.
Okay. See that, and that's the whole thing. See, I'm looking at all 3 of these guys, and I said it this morning on the show this morning. I said all 3 of these guys are a risk, and you know, you haven't had like, okay, say Trevor Lawrence. When Trevor Lawrence came out, that was a consensus number 1. We knew Jacksonville was going to take this guy because it was like, I'm not concerned about this. I'm not concerned about none of that. Now, there's concerns about all 3 of these top quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I think. That's what's got us right now as the Panther Nation in a tizzy about all 3 of these quarterbacks. Because I'm concerned about Bryce's size and weight.
Mm-hmm.
Will he be there? Now, you're looking at that, his size and weight, and saying, okay, if he gets us this right here, and I call him 3 to 5. I say he won't be here, but from 3 to 5 years. That's what I call him, 3 to 5.
Mm-hmm.
So then you go to CJ, and now we're talking about the cognition test. Can he see? Because I call him Kirk Cousins 2.0 because I don't think he can get us that brick game. In that pressure moment, I think he busts. You know, pressure bust pipes, John. Now AR, King Richard the 15th. That's what I call him. I think. Everybody wants to say, we got to win now. We got to win now. I think by the time his curve gets to where it is, with the NFC South being just like it is, you know, everything will be set up. That cog in that wheel, that click in that wheel will be right there for us to roll. And we will start having those winning seasons. You know, everything will just lock in just like a watch with its gears. You know? So if you look at it like that, I'm picking AR.
And that's, you know what, that's fair. I'll say this about Anthony Richardson, man. I remember, so I tell this story often because the comparison is Cam Newton. I had a brother that played in the NFL for a very short amount of time. And he played in college against, like, he was in college from 2006 to 2009. And he played against Cam at Florida when Cam was backing up Tebow. And the reason is because he played for Troy University. And so, they hung tough with him in the beginning, but then, Tebow and them started to pull away. So then they put Cam in, in the second half. And I remember seeing him. I didn't think anything of him because from where I was sitting, I was like, I mean, he's big, but I mean, Tebow's big. I mean, when you look at all the dogs they had on that team, like Cam stood out some, but you were looking at everybody. You was looking at the Percy Harvins and the, Hernandezes and the Pouncey's and all that kind of stuff. So he was amongst some giants.
They were stacked.
Oh, yeah. But my brother was like, bro, I remember him telling me like 2 weeks later, he said, man, this dude at Florida, bro, he was like, I don't know who this dude is. He said he went to high school with one of my brother's teammates named Brandon Lang. And he was like, he told us a little bit about him, but he didn't really like go crazy about him or anything like that. But he was like, man, this dude gonna tear it up one day. He was like, man, John, he said, I've never seen anybody. And my brother's a big dude. Like I'm 6'5". My brother's 6'4", but just lean and, and stacked and really fast, all that kind of stuff. He was like, man, and my brother played edge. He was like, if I got a step on him, he smoked me. Like every single time. You go back and watch the tape. Every time my brother came around, like when the edge wasn't set and my brother got a free release, Cam ran right past him. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like, he's like, John, I've never seen anything like it. And I was like, man, this is crazy. And so then I didn't see anything from him then. And then like, I asked my brother one day, I'm like, yo, that dude that was at Florida, is that the one that's at Auburn? He's like, yeah, that's him, man. And this is like his first couple of games in college. And I was like, man, that's crazy. He was like, yeah, this dude gonna tear the league up because we ain't never seen nothing like him before. I think the same thing about Anthony. I think Anthony is another level of that. Like, man, listen, if this guy figures it out, you talking about, I'm terrified. Let me tell you, me wanting Bryce is because I'm like, man, if Bryce can, just absolutely carve up the NFC South, like at least if we get a big lead, we can at least hold the lead because the fear I have is that boy ending up in Atlanta or him ending up in Tampa. You know what I'm saying? But Atlanta specifically, because man, if he figure it out, Kendall, you talking about one of the best quarterback talents to ever touch a football field.
And John, I think I'm like your brother because I did that when I did the morning show this morning. I laid out the 10 best. They was on the internet. It was on a Google search. The 10 best quarterbacks ever, and they showed their quarterback percentage. And a couple of guys were before QBR.
Mm-hmm.
Cam Newton was number 7, and I think Vince Young was. I can't remember right now where he was, but I was just like your brother watching these two guys on TV,
and
I was just like, they just jumped off the screen. And anytime when I see quarterback play like that, it just jumps off the screen and I watch it and it brings the level of play all around them up.
Mm-hmm.
And the defenses can't do anything really to stop it. But like the offense can dictate to the defense with this guy. I'm like, man, I can't see. Sometimes it frustrates me when other people can't see, that because maybe this guy has some kind of little tick. Maybe not set his feet just right. Sometimes the ball sails a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then now they're finally telling people that that's fixable. We knew that, the whole time it's mechanics.
But fixable. Kendall, I will say this. Josh Allen, because the comp is Josh Allen. That's always, right now, that's the comp.
There's the comp.
2 things to watch for. Number 1, Josh Allen is an anomaly. Most guys that come into the NFL, like if this was the Troy Aikman NFL, the Terry Bradshaw NFL, man, Anthony Richardson would be the first pick and Bryce Young wouldn't even be on the draft board. You know what I'm saying? Like, but it's a different league. With the Josh Allen comp, I had posted a clip from something that Josh Allen said 2 days, maybe a week ago. And he said, of course, I have to adapt my playing style. I'm probably going to change the way I play. And when I heard that, I was like, so here's what's probably going to happen. I hope for him that when that change happens, when he goes to more staying in the pocket, taking what the defense gives you, stuff like that, I would hope for him that he doesn't become average as a result of that. Because if he does, the way that quarterbacks are evaluated moving forward is going to change drastically. Why? Because he came out of college with that sub 60% completion percentage, and it was an anomaly. because most guys that come into the league like that, they don't flip. Most guys don't become more accurate. You know what I'm saying? Like it really is. It truly is an anomaly. For as much as Bryce Young's size is an issue, so is the quarterback coming into the league that's not accurate all of a sudden becoming accurate. It doesn't happen. Like Josh Allen, the reason why Josh Allen is so lauded and quarterbacks are looked at differently now is because of what he did.
And see, I look at that too. I did a little research on that, and those guys still. I see those guys like the Allens. It was just mechanics. He still processes well, like Anthony Richardson processes well. They say the processing, the whiteboard, he knows his stuff. And if you're willing to work on it, I think you have to be that guy that's willing to work on it.
Agreed.
Once you're willing to work on and take the criticism that the quarterback coaches or the head coaches or whoever that's going to work with the guy is going to give him. Also, you got to have scheme and the other talent around him to kind of compensate for what he doesn't do well.
Right.
And over that period of time. And I think that's what they did. I don't know. Now, I'm not in Buffalo. I think that's what they did with this guy. So
I agree with that. And Kendall, it's hard not to look at, like, obviously a tight end. I think one of the things, them bringing in Hayden Hurst, like, he might not be the best tight end, but like he's a great route runner. He provides you an opportunity for a safety blanket. And not for nothing, man. Let's just say that it's hard not to look at what Philly did with Jalen Hurts. Now, part of that too is this, and this is one unspoken thing about Jalen that doesn't get mentioned much. Jalen is a grinder. That's Michael Jordan and cleats over there, bro. Finding motivation where I can find it, creating, circumstances to make me, work even harder. He is a
coaching son.
Yes. Yeah. He is a work horse.
Exactly.
Yes.
If you can get those type of guys in the building, they will fix the little stuff.
Yes, but I'm going to tell you this, and this may be another one of them things that people may not like, but I read that article with Anthony Richardson, and Anthony is like my nephew who I lost, having to grow up faster than he should, right? Father not present, taking care of little brother, you know what I'm saying, being there for his family, all the stuff that a man should do, you know what I'm saying? But I noticed something that he said, and with all the stuff that surrounds Ja Morant right now, it kind of makes you be crazy not to scratch your head and be like, man, I hope that these friends that he's speaking of are more Mav Carter and Rich Paul and, and these guys than they are the knuckleheads pointing lasers at people in the parking lot and trying to fight people after a game. You know what I'm saying? Because when he mentioned, I got to take care of my people, and stuff like that, I was like, man, I'm like, I just hope this don't come, even if he's not here, for the sake of him, that it's not those kind of guys that he's around. But for all I know, he may be on some bronze stuff where it's like, yo, I'm taking care of what I got to take care of. Yeah. Where it's like, hey, my guys I'm around me, look, we getting ready to, like, when I'm going to keep the first thing first and build and ball out, but we're going to build a conglomerate, with my guys because they level headed. But it's still something you got to think about. And trust me, I know that teams like, man, these teams are ask people that work at the diner across the road from you, like, what kind of hot dog you like? You know what I'm saying? Like, they asking everything because of the investment.
Yeah. Like I keep telling people, I said, man, they're going to high school teachers, man.
Yeah.
High school coaches, little league coach, they trying. You got a character that you have to present not only for the team but for that shield.
Absolutely.
And they're kind of giving these guys millions and millions of dollars and embarrassing that shield.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen anymore.
I agree.
The last question I'm going to ask you, John, is out here. I call it the coveted 39. Now, right here with the coveted 39, well, it's a two-part question because somebody brought it the other day. Said, okay, well, it's smoke screen. Well, if it's a smoke screen, that we talking Bryce, and we flip-flop with Houston, and Houston gives us the 33 and 39. What are we doing?
So you saying tomorrow they make a swap, they give us You said 33 and 39 because I know we are 39
We
right
got,
now, right?
We got 39, but Houston
Right.
got 33. I'm thinking the phone call has been made in the back rooms, and Houston has a 12. I'm thinking we was trying to, it would behoove us to ask for that 12. But let's just say Houston draws a hard line and say, no, you're not getting the 12, and they give us the 33.
No, I ain't moving. If you ain't coming up off that 12, then you stay where you're at.
Okay.
Like, not
I
happening.
don't see it benefiting them trading backwards, trading up anyway when they're number 2. I mean,
if they think we're trying to get Bryce, though, if they love Bryce that much, if they coveted Bryce that much and say our guy was a Richardson or whatever, and we're throwing it, that's why I said smoke screen.
Listen, this is just my theory, and I think this will come out. What don't come out in the wash, come out in the rinse. I really believe this is going to happen. I believe that a month down the road, after and I'm going to make a bold proclamation, draft Bryce Young tomorrow, I think that eventually, because right now they're not doing it, but when they do one of these, like, post-draft videos that they drop on the channel, on the Carolina Panthers YouTube channel, or Camp Confidential or whatever like that, and they show the war room.
Camp Confidential.
I think that it's going to come out that they knew exactly who they were drafting the moment that they moved up in this draft. I don't think that I think they did their due diligence just because the opportunity was there to do it. But I think that they knew exactly go back and listen to what Scott said. What did he say? If you have conviction about a guy, go get him, And
also, John, he said the decision was made at the combine.
I don't believe that.
Your guy didn't do nothing at the combine but step on a scale.
That's a fact. But I don't believe that. Let me tell you why I don't believe it. Because, and I'm not saying that Scott is this guy or whatever, but I heard a coach one time say that he wanted to win a Super Bowl with Cam Newton. Y'all said I can't say his name on here in the green room, so I'm not going to say it. I heard a coach. I seen a quote from an actual team. The coach said this, and the team posted it on their social media account. Josh Rosen is our guy. And the next day they drafted Kyler Murray. I don't believe nothing these dudes say, bro, because it's all a chess game.
Facts. They say a lot of stuff that they really don't really mean. And like you say, I don't put no stock into nothing these guys say nowadays.
There was a guy that we used to respect in the culture. Some may still. But he says sometimes a man can say things that he really don't mean. But I'm sorry, baby. Won't you please come back to me? I ain't going to say his name because I ain't trying to get y'all demonetized, but you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
All right, man. Look, Poppin', what you got for my dog over here?
What's going on, Big John?
Popping bullets. What's good?
What's good, man? I'm enjoying you on the show. I've been following you for a minute.
Oh yeah, you my guy, man.
I'm jealous because I can't get my stuff to work as great as yours as far as equipment.
Hey, listen,
so
I'm a DM away, bro. I'm a DM away. If y'all, and this goes for all of y'all. Like ask anybody. Like PNP, like they've changed it a bunch, but I made their intro for them. I've done design work for Cat and all kind of people throughout the space. So if y'all ever need help with anything, just hit me up.
Well, yes, sir. Yeah, I'll definitely be hitting you up on that one. Yes, sir.
I'm not that great with Twitter, so I might just have to get you an email.
The One Carolina Show at gmail.com.
Yes, sir. Man, it's so much I could sit down and talk to you, but I'm gonna come at you in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna challenge you real quick.
Okay.
Can you recite 1 Corinthians 13:11?
You got me. 1 Corinthians 13:11. Offhand, man, that's such a great book too. I was just quoting one I can quote. It's funny because I had somebody yesterday that I think one of the reasons they disliked it was because I was talking about a Bible passage and comparing it to something that was happening in the space. And I was quoting 1 Corinthians 5:11 that says, the fear of the Lord is why we try to persuade you, which is the whole reason why we share the gospel in the first place. But I cannot quote that offhand. I'm sorry.
I got you. When I spoke as a child,
I thought that's what it was, man.
Yeah.
I kind of figured that's where he was going.
I put away childish things.
Right.
Yes, sir.
I brought
got you,
that
Pop.
I brought that to you because you was talking about the growth of you starting your YouTube channel.
Yeah.
So you came in with a mindset of not knowing all the knowledge, but as you've grown, you can tell the maturity of your channel and how it's grown.
Thank you, bro.
And that's just salute you. You know, that's why when I thought about that verse, I'm not a very in the book type of guy, but there is some things how I've been raised. You know, you got to keep some things close to your heart.
Yeah.
So that's just a salute to you, man, because I just seen what you've done, and that's why I'm always gonna support.
Man, I appreciate that. And to be honest with you, man, it doesn't always play the best. I'm sure that I could probably grow more if I didn't go that direction and I kind of played into the debauchery. But like, I know the standard that I hold, and I know so if my growth is, man, listen, if my channel stopped where it was today as far as growth is concerned, and I never got any bigger than I am right now, I would still do it the same way, because my greatest commission in life is the same one for all of us, especially if you're a believer, is to, spread the gospel, to anybody that has an ear to hear it. And so like, that's why I'm always going to hold to that standard, like regardless, you know what I'm saying? And I think people know that about me, and I'm okay with that.
Look, a little humor, John, before Pop go on. Look at The Rock. I don't know if you were into wrestling, but The Rock said, "Does anybody know Austin 316?" Oh my God! Shout out to The Rock. He always come show us some love in the chat.
That's hilarious.
Hey, we got trolls over here. They be over here all the time.
Hey, it's all good. That's why, man, I got a couple of mods on my channel, but we don't really block nobody, man. I'm like, get it off, man. Say what you got to say.
Yeah, say what you got to say. Come here and do it. We've been going live every day for the last 2 weeks, and I've been calling it the care package.
Yeah, that's what's up.
I've been letting people know that, mend your heart, because this is the first time that it's been 11 years since we've been in this type of situation, I believe.
And I don't want to be back.
And I've diagnosed a lot of these people with selective hearing, and also selective seeing. I know that when you started off, and I know you're telling the truth, because you didn't start off as a Bryce guy. You the one that made me go look at Michael Penix. I was so mad at you because the guy didn't come out of college.
Man, I can't believe you remember that. That's wild.
I went to go check. I'm like, who is this guy on the West Coast? I gotta figure him out.
Yeah.
So I was so pissed because I'm like, that's our guy. I watched all his tape, doing all I can. And this before I even started doing the podcast thing. So shout out to you for going out here and scouting for the podcasters out here.
Thank you, man.
Some of them do a okay job, and then you got the ones who are elite. My second question is, are you a flats guy or a drum guy?
Great question. I was a drum guy who became a flats guy. And I know the weirdest thing is, like, I just like how it comes, like how you dip it in the sauce and it tastes, I don't know, it doesn't really taste different, but it just seems like it does. So like, it's weird. But like, I'm not a seasoned guy. Like, I just like plain chicken wings and ranch. Like, I could eat that till I'm blue in the face. You know what I'm saying?
Okay,
like,
so you're a ranch guy. Okay.
Oh yeah, man. Like, I used to I lived in Boone, North Carolina for a small time, man, and there used to be this this spot on King Street. If any of you guys out there familiar with Boone. And man, on Monday nights, man, we go in there. And I mean, at this time, I'm in Boone. If y'all know anything about Appalachian State, like, when they beat Michigan, bro, it was lit. And I was living up there around that time. So like, we go in there and it'd be, like, I was friends with one of the guys that was on the team named Tavares. And so man, Armani Edwards, he played for the Panthers at one time. He'd be in there, with us all the time. Brian Quick, I think he played for the Redskins or now the Commanders or whatever. But he was drafted by the Rams, whatever. But him, TJ, man, I can't remember TJ's last name. And then they had a really good running back named Richardson, something Richardson. I can't remember his first name, but yeah, man, they had some of the best wings I've ever had in my life.
Yeah, I was surprised when I went over to the Dominican Republic and they had some awesome wings.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. So, what else you got, Pop?
So, quick question, because we know that Bryce Young is going to be on every commercial that is known to man.
Yes.
Which one of these two things would you see in your cabinet? Bryce crispy treats or Bryce spice seasoning?
Oh man, we already got the what's the Snickers thing he already doing? Seeing that already. I'd probably say Bryce crispy treats, just because of my kids. They get a kick out of that. Oh yeah, for sure. And look, let me say this too. When you have a guy like this that is going to catapult a franchise, if Bryce comes out and tears it up suppose that Bryce comes out and has the same kind of game that Cam had against Arizona, and then backs that up with the same kind of game that Cam had against Green Bay. You know what I'm saying? And just carves them up. Bro, just like Steph Curry, Bryce gonna change the game. And he'll become the new Tom Brady of the NFL, not from a playing perspective, but the one thing, we're going to be the team that people love to hate. You know why? Because they're going to do the best that they can. If he's that marketable, they're going to do the best they can to protect him. You put a finger on him and you're getting a flag. That's another reason why I ain't worried about his size, because I'm like, man, he's not going to get smoked like y'all think. Now, if he's trash, of course, they ain't going to do nothing. But if he's good, bro, you got to think about look at how the NFL is marketing, man. The NFL is trying to find, for as big as they are, they're always trying to find the fringe audience. They're always trying to placate to a different audience than what their true audience is. And sometimes that blows up in your face. Ask Budweiser how that's working out. Anheuser-Busch. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
But like when you try to play to a different market and invite a different audience in, some of those people look at football the way the doctor that made that concussion movie look at it. You know what I'm saying? So like, what am I going to do? I'm going to soften up them rules like crazy. So now we got the smallest quarterback that's ever suited up, getting ready to come into the NFL. You think they ain't going to protect that guy like crazy? Of course they are. And we will end up being hated because if you put your hand on his head, sort of like they did Brady in that AFC Championship game that Pat should have won in his first season starting.
I got to push back on that, because I don't think they're going to protect him as far as when it comes to like referees and things like that. Because if we've already softened up the game so much, if it gets that bad, it's tag football. Then
get ready for it.
It really would not be worth watching.
Pop, I'll tell you, they had another DeMar Hamlin potential situation happening. I'm gonna be honest with you. When I saw that happening in real time, I remember praying for that kid. Like, me and my family stopped immediately and we prayed for him because of just how scary that was. Because to be gone like that for, what was it, 7 to 9 minutes, almost something like that, is crazy. And I'll say this was a thought in my mind, and I hope that people hear my heart and not, this isn't what I was hoping for, but this was because Skip Bayless got killed for this, for thinking too far ahead. I don't think what Skip was thinking was malicious. Even I kind of thought it in the beginning until I had more time to process it. But I think that it was just too soon. But I think I can say this now comfortably because DeMar Hamlin is actually potentially on his way back onto the field. But all I could think was like, man, if this kid dies, we may literally see the death of the NFL along with it. Because I'm telling you, man, like that would, how do you come back from that? You know what I'm saying? Like, how do you can't. And now go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. Because the fact that you said that, a light bulb just goes off in my head. That's why, and this might sound a little rude, and sometimes I can be rude at times, but that's why I don't want this microwave QB. It's a quick fix, instead of longevity. We talk about on this show about, since we see that the organization is trying to build something special here, and you want multiple championships. It's hard for me to get behind somebody of his stature and say that he's going to be here for the next 10 years. I think everybody wants to hurry up and win now instead of watching the team grow and put the pieces in the right place. And so that's why I have not been on the Bryce Young train. I do believe that he's phenomenal. He's great. He's the brain. He has a brand. All that good stuff. Almost too perfect for me. to the point where it's like, how can I relate to you in a sense? Because what I do, and maybe I just do this in my own head, is that once we draft all our players, I look up their stories and stuff, even before they get here. But definitely when they get here, I start, hey, let's find out what they're about. What's their story, where they come from, this, that, and other, because it makes it more fun for me, I guess you could say, because it's like I'm getting to know them even though I don't know them.
What's? Go ahead, Pop. I'm sorry. Keep going.
And that's one thing I didn't like when Tepper said a long time ago when we were letting go of people, because he was used to being with the Steelers where they would let people go. And since we're a small market, we hold those we treasure close to our heart, like a TD, like a Josh Norman, and Steve Smith. We're not willing to let go of our legends as quickly as they might be in the Steelers community.
Mm-hmm.
You have the floor, sir.
Let me make sure I'm saying this all correctly. I sound like Skip Bayless blowing in the micro or yawning in the microphone. But like, man, I had a point and I forgot it. I think that Pop, let me ask you a question. If his size, you talked about relatability. Like, I would argue that Bryce Young is the most, and this is going to sound crazy, but follow me on this. Bryce Young could be considered the most relatable of the quarterbacks that you've seen in a very long time. Why? Do you know the average height of the American male is 5'10"?
Mm-hmm.
If you're over 6 feet tall, why do you think you got all these women running around talking about they want a guy 6'3" or 6'2" and above? Because it's an anomaly. You don't see it often. It's not, when you walk down the street every day, you may think you see it often, but you don't. Just because we watch LeBron and them at 6'8" running around like crazy, that ain't the average man. The average man, I think in the world, it's not even in America, is 5'10". He's more relatable to them than anybody. One of the reasons why Steph Curry became so relatable is because he looked like everybody else, even though Steph Curry is much taller. Like when they talk about him being Steph Curry, when you talk about the relatability to the end from, game to game, most NBA guys are like 6'6" and above, you know what I'm saying? Like, and Steph looks small out there, but Steph, like, he ain't that much shorter than me. Like, I think Steph, like, what, 6'2", something like that? 6'2", 6'3", something crazy?
6'2", 6'3".
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And at me at 6'5", which, not for nothing, it would just be weird to see him in person because when you see him on TV, he do look so short. Just like Chris Paul. Chris Paul looked mad short on TV. But if you seen him in person, like, he's standing up shoulder to shoulder with you. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it makes you realize, like, yo, I really ain't as tall as I think I am. You know what I'm saying? Compared to these dudes on the court. But in the NFL, it's kind of similar because most dudes in the NFL aren't really tall. Darnell Washington he'll come in and be, completely different at his height, but he'd be an average dude in the NFL, I mean, in the NBA. But the point I'm making is this: from a relatability perspective, that's one thing. Wholesome guy, family guy, all that kind of stuff. But man, don't nothing translate in any sport like wins, dog. So I don't care who you are. You know what I'm saying? Like, at the end of the day, do I want you to have character? Of course. But like, man, I want them wins. And to me, this looks like the guy who gives us the best opportunity to do that.
I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. Like I told Goat on this show, I love AR-15. I love the upside. He is my favorite when it comes to picking. But I know I have to put my fandom aside and say, okay, what's best for the team? Mm-hmm. And right now, pound for pound, say what you want about the little guy. He is the best football player in this draft when it comes to being the best quarterback in this draft. So I need my guys to understand that. Goat, I know you're throwing up over there, but you got to understand. This guy can make all the plays on every single level. Like his escapability, once the pocket starts to crash in, it's second to none. This guy can get out there, and then his eyes are down the field looking to make a play. You can't teach that. That's something you cannot teach. Now, I get it. AR is my dog. I love AR to death. Now, to me, and John, this is just me. Mm-hmm. It's AR or it's either Bryce to me, because the other two guys, which is Levis and CJ, to me is a big no for me. And I laid it out. When it comes to Levis likes to play a little too much of hero ball. And I see so much of Sam Darnold inside of Levis, it scares me to death.
Yeah, the
And
turnover thing is real. Yeah.
Yeah. And CJ, like I gave it to you, he's the safest pick, but look, I don't need Kirk Cousins 2.0. I mean, I'm a hard person to please when it comes to quarterbacks.
I'll just say this though, man, and I say this about Will. You know, sometimes it's just where you go, man. Like, you know, I'm careful about what I say about Will Levis because I don't want to be eating crow if he end up in Atlanta and go crazy. Because I mean, you can't. Here's the one thing you can't discount. You can't if there's a formula that exists, right? Suppose it was okay. You know, 100 years ago, if somebody had diabetes, the lifespan was usually about, you know, maybe 30 to 35 years. But nowadays, you know, you can live with diabetes and live a full life because of advancement in medicine. So if a formula is created for success, then it can be duplicated if it's followed precisely. You can't go off the beaten path. It has to be followed precisely. So I'm not going to look at Josh Allen and suggest that nobody else can be that. You know, it just may not last for as long as you want it to. But again, if we're going to talk about it from that perspective, you know, hey, look at where Pat's career is right now in the short amount of time that we've seen him, you know, on the field. Not for nothing, Russell Wilson won his most of these guys win their first Super Bowl relatively quickly because of the situation they fall into. I mean, Russ won his in what, year 3? You know what I'm saying? Like his first one then was in another one the following year. You know, Pat won his in year 3. His second year starting. You know what I'm saying? Manning, it took Manning a little bit longer, but that's because Manning was in the, you know what I'm saying, during the Brady era. You know, like many of those in basketball that were during, you know, around during the Jordan era or whatever. Or like, you know, you could say Drew Brees. You know, Drew Brees, I think it was year 2 or 3 after when he got to New Orleans that they won it in 2009. You know what I'm saying? Matter of fact, I think it was year 2. I think he got traded in 2007. And so, you know, it's just it doesn't take an awful long time, and you can know relatively quickly, especially if the team is built out. Plus, let me say this, because I know people say, man, we got a lot of holes and stuff like this. Listen, I watched Jim Harbaugh coach a 6-10 San Francisco 49er team in 2011. In 2012, they were 13-3. And if Kyle Williams doesn't drop that punt, they beat the New York Giants and go to the Super Bowl. And probably end up beating the Patriots in 2012. Maybe. Who knows? It was anybody's game. But Eli Manning won that game, so it's possible that they could have done the same thing. And that was with Alex Smith. So I think this coaching staff is going to make this team a lot better than most people think.
Well, I tell you like this. Fellas on the panel, do y'all have anything else for John before we get into the mock draft? How y'all feeling? Pat, you got anything?
I mean, I do.
No, man. I'm tuning in, listening. I'm working right now.
Oh, okay. I got you. All right.
But good voice though, fella. I like his point of views and everything. He got an answer for everything y'all throwing at him. Now, I give him that.
Thank you, bro.
This is the seasoning on top of the chicken, Pat. This is the seasoning on top of the chicken. I'm telling you.
I had to get on. I was listening on YouTube and I heard my man questioning about wings and Jesus. I had to log on.
Yeah, I did that, didn't I?
That's on me, good.
Y'all will. All right. So it's the time that we all been waiting on. Mock draft time.
Let's get it.
All right. Go. You got anything before we get started? You know who we picking first. You already know who we picking first.
John, it's John's draft. So ain't no letter. Go ahead with it. Give it to me.
All right. I'm going to start the draft. We're using mock draft database. I know, you know, like I told John before, I know he uses PFF. But tonight, we're going to get into it as we get into it. So, Brother John, tell me, are you looking to, one, keep the number 1 pick? Or are you looking to trade back? And who are you looking at?
There is 0 chance on earth that I would trade back. And I also feel the same thing. I know that Scott made a quote today that they were calling when it came to the 39th pick, but you don't trade DJ Moore and play games at the top of this draft. Like, you don't play mind games and stuff like that. Like, nah. Bryce Young's the pick. Send in the card, run up to the front of the podium. Listen, I wish they would. I know that they want to do it for the sake of suspense, man. But I'm telling you, I am not gonna sleep tonight. I'm running off 3 hours of sleep. I've been doing so much content and stuff behind the scene preparing for tomorrow. But man, I'm telling you, run the card up there. It would have been so much better. Like I think the draft shows would still be great for all of us that are going to be live tomorrow if we would have still known. But I'm telling you, man, it's going to be some. Because if that card say something else, bro, oh my gosh.
I'm thinking, John. I'm thinking about going to Kansas City and trip the man that's running the card up there.
No, don't do
that. And switch it out.
Anyway, it's Bryce. Go ahead and send it in.
I got you. Shout out to Cody in the chat, man. What's up, brother?
𝐿𝐸𝐬𝐿, that's my guy. Hey, Cody, I got your message, man. I got you. I'll be live around the same time, but I got you, bro.
You want to accept any of these trades? Second round, they want to give you 64. Hold on, I can make the screen bigger. I can take us out.
Oh, I got it. You good? Let's see. Okay. So they giving us. So they want us to move
back
30 to 64, and they're going to give us 64, 103, 133, a second round next year, and that'd be hard not to say no to.
That'll be hard not to say no. Jacksonville only offering you a 6th round, 7th round, a second next year, and a 4th next year. And then the last offer you got is a 4th round and a second next year and a 5th next year. But the best one is the Bears.
Goodness.
From 39 to 60.
Is there any way to like kind of move that to the side to see who's still on the board?
Oh yeah, no doubt.
Let's take.
I'm
using this next year, man. What? Michael Mayer still on the board?
That's a steal right there. Dalton Kincaid is sitting there. Jahmyr Gibbs, Darnell Washington, Jack Campbell,
Captain Jack.
Oh my God. Then you got Keon White, edge rusher, 𝐦𝐨𝐬𝐫𝐞. I never say his name right, but the best of the best is still sitting right there. Oops.
Let me see. Somebody mentioned that. Let me see what Pittsburgh was offering again.
See what Pittsburgh was offering?
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't enough, look like to me.
No. You know what? Let's make it interesting. Take that Bears pick. I mean, take that Bears trade.
Bears trade?
Yeah, that's too much. That's too much.
That's an overhaul. Yes, sir. All right, we just accepted it. I mean, we traded out of the 39. All right, let's see who's going to be the best available at this one.
Yeah, we ain't trading no more.
No more. Yeah.
All right, let me see. I like Isaiah Foskey. He's still on the board. I figured he'd go a lot earlier.
Best available right here. Cedric Tillman at receiver.
Yep.
See 𝐸𝐸𝐿 sitting there.
Look at corners. See if I want to see if the Williams kid from Syracuse went. Garrett Williams. There he is.
You know, everybody had a problem with me. I took him in a mock draft and they said he was injured and they got on my tail, John. They really did.
Yeah, I would look at him or potentially Riley Moss. I actually like Riley Moss a little bit better
than Darius Rush.
Yeah. I like Rush and Moss, John. It's a hard toss-up for me when they come up like that.
So with you trading back, that changed your entire draft philosophy. What are you looking at right here at 64 other than corner? Corner is what you locked in on right here?
I would say yes, only because we have guys like, okay, there's a lot of guys that I don't know are going to make this roster this year. Like I'm concerned that Keith Taylor doesn't make the roster this year, even though I think he should.
No, thank you, John. No, thank you.
So he's off the board. Potentially, I don't even think Stanley Thomas Oliver is still here. So he's gone. CJ should be. We don't know if Dante is going to stay healthy. You know, that's always a major concern. Let me look at one more thing. Go to edges real quick. I'm gonna just look at one more thing.
All right. Let me ask you another question. While we're looking at edges, Are you not concerned with our receiver room enough to at 64 to pull the plug on somebody?
Possibly. It depends on who's there. Because I think with the receiver room, it's going to be about fit. Like if Josh Downs is there, very possible.
Take a peek. Nope. All them gone.
Dang. Tank Dale's still there.
Oh, A.T. Perry.
Oh my God. Oh, no, I know. Look, put the card in. Jonathan Mingo.
Mingo?
Yep. I can't believe he's still on the board. I thought he would have been gone already. Yep.
I got you.
Cards in.
Mingo is in. Mingo is in. Yes, sir. I like it. So now that you've taken that, dang, San Fran. Okay, 3, 5, 5, 6, 7. That's not realistic. I mean, come on, man.
Goodness. Anyway, yeah, I ain't doing that.
That's an overhaul.
Right.
Okay, so now that you've gotten Bryce Young, you got Jonathan Mingo as your first pick off the board beyond quarterback. Now, what's the next glaring hole? Is it cornerback, edge rusher, or linebacker to you?
I think if Riley's still on the board, I would take Riley right here. If he's not, then I'm probably going to go a different direction than most people would go. Yeah, Riley's still on the board. Kendall, what you think? You think the reason I say Garrett Williams is because if he's healthy, man, like Garrett Williams is a freak, but like the health thing is an issue. So I think I'm gonna go. I haven't really watched a lot of Rush, but Riley Moss is legit. Let's go Riley Moss.
Okay, Riley Moss it is. They gave you a C on that one, John.
I'm fine with that. Hey, listen.
Yes, the position of need for the Panthers.
Listen,
that's the way I do my drafts too.
Absolutely, because check it out. Because like my mock drafts, I got like horrible grades on, but I'm cool with that because here's the thing: if you were redrafting the 2011 draft, I think it was, and I think they put this out there, who would be the first player off the board after Cam? Some people didn't even say Cam Newton, but like J.J. Watt would probably be 1 or 2. And then in that top 5 would be Richard Sherman. Guess where he was drafted? 5th round. You know what I'm saying? So like, if you got a grade on a guy and he's your guy, there isn't, because somebody was like, man, I wouldn't pick this person or that person too high. I'm like, man, if you scouted him and you know what he can be for your system, there is no pick too high. You know what I'm saying?
That's what I asked somebody today. Why they said, oh yeah, if we move back to 3, I'm picking AR. What's the matter with picking AR at 1 versus picking AR at 3? Like you said, if he's your guy.
Yeah.
But I told you that was stupidity, though. Gold. I told you whoever said that wasn't even thinking, because that's only 1 slot difference, other than number 2. Come on.
It's the narrative, man, that's fed in people's head. You don't pick this. You like they always say, you draft the athlete and you coach the player.
Yeah.
I'm a big believer in that.
I agree. And I'll go a step further, man. Like, I also believe this. I'm not of the mindset. When I heard, I can't remember who it was that said this. It might have been Scott. It might have been Frank. Somebody said that Andy Dalton was getting playing time this year. To me, that still doesn't mean that Bryce is not the guy.
They both did.
There you go. So then if that means that AR is the guy and you got to sit him for a year, because this the thing, man. Like, suppose that AR's year, man, let me tell you what kind of year difference it made, and we'll get back to this draft. Let me tell you what kind of year difference that made for Pat, bro. Pat said, and this came out of his mouth, I quote, Pat said, Alex Smith helped me to be able to set my feet when I took a snap behind center because I was 99% in shotgun in college. I could not identify a Mike linebacker the first year I came into the league. I struggled with basic coverages when I came into the league. So they moved up. It's no different than us. They were at 10, we're at 1. They moved up to get him at 10, and they sat him on ice. And I guarantee you there were people just like us, content creators or fans, that were screaming at high heavens, man, why y'all sit him? He need to play right away. No, he don't. And I guarantee you now, those same people will probably tell you a lie. I never said that.
No, they never said that.
I
always knew. Somebody said they knew that he was going to be what he is. I knew
right.
Right.
Now, John, don't you see how that felt? Didn't that feel good, what you just said about AR? Like, didn't that feel great?
Look, I ain't no look. I'm the guy. I've told you, man, and I said at the beginning of this, I said this a while back, man. I was like, bro, if that man figured this out, he is going to tear this league up. He really will. Because you won't have an answer for him, man. You will not, like, at all.
And that's the problem. GOAT just said you draft the athlete and then you coach the player.
Mm-hmm.
We've also trying to think logical, you know what I'm saying? Instead of making a fairy tale out of this, we're not quite ready yet. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna be competitive, but to compete is where we're trying to be. And so if you have that time, because like you said, Scott Fritter and Frank Wright said that they brought Dalton in here to win games. He wants to win games. He's going to play.
Yeah.
Well, that tells me in my mind, okay, whoever you bring out here, and you're saying you're not rushing them out there until they're absolutely ready, or until Dalton starts to mess up, that they're going to sit for a little bit to learn the game.
Yeah.
That to me is the perfect scenario where AR can come to. I would be so upset for him to go to another organization for two reasons, where they don't care about him and not putting him in the right position to win and really educate him and bring him along, or him to go to an organization in our division and beat our tails for the next 5-10 years.
Listen,
you know that's scary. It's scary, John.
It is, but at the same time, and I've voiced those same kind of concerns. It is scary, but at the same time, let me tell you something, man. Like, this is at the same time, this too. You want that to happen, man. Like, iron sharpens iron. I do not want to be the team that runs roughshod in this division. You know why? Because by the time if I go around fighting all these, like, amateur guys, man, by the time I get to Tyson, I'm knocked out in the first round. You know what I'm saying? Like, nah, I need that competition. One of the things that makes the divisions, like, think of the NFC West, for example. When the NFC West was absolutely lit, bro, when it was San Fran, Seattle, Arizona was still solid. The Rams were kind of like, in flux or whatever with coaching or whatever like that. But, like, man, they had battles in the NFC Championship for like 3 or 4 years straight. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it was because we got to be at the top of our game, because if we don't, we have zero chance in this division. And both of them ended up going to a Super Bowl. You could argue that if San Francisco gets that call with Crabtree in the end zone against the Ravens, they win the game if they would have got that call. And then both teams in that division win a Super Bowl in back-to-back years. I want you to draft. Like, look, does it scare me? Yes, a little bit. But I want you to draft one of these guys and think you're going to develop them so we can start battling. I'm ready to get back to that old school Atlanta versus Carolina battle. I don't care about New Orleans. Forget New Orleans. I want them to get better because it's going to make us better. But let's keep going.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Let's get back into it.
Okay.
Ready. 103. What you looking at?
So it looks like the way that because I'm seeing people on this board that wouldn't be here on the PFF thing, because I think what they do is they update the way that the analysts are mocking these guys. So go to Edge, because I'm going to see if there's the guy from USC still here, Thule.
No,
which I don't think
he went quick.
Did he? Okay.
Every draft he goes quick. On this thing, they usually get him out of here real quick.
Okay.
But I love Andre Carter, and I love Byron Young too. Those are two strong guys that could come in, set the edge, and be an outside linebacker as well as an edge rusher, put his hand in the dirt. So to me, I think Carter is the biggest specimen.
Byron Young is that hybrid. Byron Young is that hybrid guy. Yeah, he's high on me. Like, especially at 114 or lower. Sometimes he's always there.
So are you thinking edge rusher here, John?
Yeah, but I'm gonna tell you, I struggle with hybrid guys, man, because the reason is because I do think that there's something to be said for a guy that's a specialist at his position. I'm not saying that hybrid guys, I mean, not for nothing. I mean, I know Ryan Tannehill hasn't been the greatest of quarterbacks, but he's been serviceable, and he was a receiver in college at one point. Julian Edelman was a quarterback at Kent State. Richard Sherman was a receiver who went to corner at Stanford. So these hybrid guys that can do multiple things definitely can come into a situation, but where they find their footing. Like, I think about Travis Hunter at Colorado. I'm like, man, he's crazy at receiver, but he's also a corner. And he's going to have to make a decision at some point, because they're not going to draft him as both. Like, they're not going to draft him and scout him as Dion. They're going to draft him as one or the other. And so to me, I'm wondering, like, okay, is the Byron Young guy, is he bendable to the point where he would look better as a 3-4 outside backer, or would he be better as a, 5 tech with his hand in the dirt? Like, what do you think about that, Kendall?
I think a 5 tech with a hand in the dirt. I like him as a 5 tech with a hand in the dirt.
Right. In that case,
I'm gonna
then
tell you like this, John.
Go ahead.
He's already worlds ahead of YGM, and he hasn't even played a snap in NFL football yet. And that's the worst part. I don't know if you don't know it, but YGM to me is taking up space on our team. Bro.
Why did you bring up that name? Why?
Because it grinds my gear every time I look at edge rusher and I think about them 3 letters that ain't producing a thing.
Frank, can I be fair to YGM though? Go ahead. No. Somebody's about to say something. Go ahead.
Frank got up there and said we moving YGM to outside linebacker.
That was code for me that he gonna get cut in training camp.
And a piece of my heart cried. I said, if you don't get this big light-skinned 6'5" dude off my team, man, I'm a boy. See, I'll cussing out the TV, man.
I think there's a possibility that YGM could go somewhere else and be serviceable. I say that very lightly. Serviceable, right? Because if you go back and watch where YGM actually got a 2nd-round grade from when he was coming out of Penn State, he was in a 4-3 where he was in a wide 9 stance. So if he got an opportunity to get ahead of steam, then yeah, he could, bulldoze a tackle and get to the quarterback. And we saw that a couple of times, very few and far between, but there was a few times when they would line him up in a true 4-3 set where he would be the edge and kind of push him out just a hair. You don't see a lot of wide 9 stance in the NFL because it's just, the game is too fast. But and plus it's not, the hashes are so much more condensed, so you're not going to really see it as much as you would in college. But the thing is, though, is that he's never really, again, he's one of these players that they scouted his athletic ability and not his true position. And that was the biggest issue that was during that, the coach that will remain nameless, his regime was scouting people like that, and not necessarily bringing people in to play a specific position. You see what I'm saying? So that's why I was asking, okay, I will lean on you guys on this pick because I'm like, all right, I realize we did kind of move down too far, but for the edge anyway. But if there's a guy on here that you feel like could be the true outside linebacker, which not for nothing, who are they playing? If we didn't draft anybody today, who is that guy opposite Burns on the opposite side?
Barno.
I was thinking the same thing.
Sir.
Either him or Louvu.
I have no faith.
And Louvu, yeah. Louvu.
Well,
Louvu.
See, that's what I'm saying. If Louvu is your outside line, ultimate outside linebacker, and then we're stunting him like that. So, I mean, now you're starting to pick up covers because now they starting to key Frankie. All the time. Oh, Louvu's that. Because, see, that's what hurts me a lot of time when you have to have that linebacker to basically create a rush versus, like you just said, somebody in their true position that's just able to wreak havoc by themselves. And then you have to create that pressure with a Louvu. See, that scared me last year when Snow said that we're going to have to use when we let 𝐥𝐸𝐬 go. Right?
Someone read it.
Because of the money.
Yeah.
And then he says, well, we're going to have to use Frankie, 𝐥𝐸𝐬, and Haynes to create pressure.
By committee.
By
committee.
Exactly. So I'm like, they going to key in on that.
Yeah.
As soon as they see this guy set here, and then they call it, we just started becoming a beacon of what we're going to do.
Yeah.
Because once we start seeing this guy in this set, we knew what we were going to do.
But the thing is, though, is go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, go ahead, John. Just go ahead.
The thing is, though, is that you didn't see enough creativity. Like we spent for all of that creativity that we supposedly had. I can see, let me be honest with you. I think that there was a pathway, and I know people are going to be like, boo, and start throwing tomatoes in the chat. I'm cool with it. But I could see the idea and the plan behind what they were trying to do. And I'm convinced that if they would have kept Cam and let him be the guy going into the next season until they got and developed their guy, that it's possible that it probably could have worked. And let me tell you why. Because if you put up points against your opposition, we made it very difficult for you to score. Go look at the games where Sam Darnold was carving up teams those first 3 games, right? The Jets, Houston, and I can't remember the other team. Go look at the defense that we ran 53% of our snaps when we had a lead, 3-3-5. That doesn't necessarily translate to the NFL. It's more of a college concept. 3 down linemen, 3 backers, and 5 DBs. It's pretty much a dime defense all game. Try throwing on it with the guys that we had out there. Chin Roman.
When you're behind.
When you're behind.
Yeah.
Try throwing on it. You got an extra DB to alleviate that.
Yeah, I'm putting a bowl over you. I'm putting a dome over you now.
Absolutely.
You know?
We an Iron Dome on top of that.
Exactly.
And that I understood the play. You know what I'm saying? When they shout out, what's up, Rashad? Like
what's going on, fellas?
Or Dave, whichever one of you guys it is, or both of you. But I understood the play. You know what I'm saying? When they did it. The only problem is that if you're always playing from behind, guess what's going to be the most exposed? The run game. You know what I'm saying? And so when you got all these out of tween position guys, no real girth on the line, no big dudes, no brawlers. You know what I'm saying? Like Shy Tuttle, like the Williams kid we brought in. Of course, you're gonna get.
I like to call it that big cog in the.
Yeah.
You know,
oh, shout out to Rashad, man. What's going on, brother?
I said whichever one of y'all it is.
Hey man, y'all are too much, man. But I get you 1,000%. We don't have that guy, and I'm not the smartest guy, but when you ask the question, who do we have opposite of Brian Burns that can be a difference maker at edge rusher? Everybody said immediately Amari Bono, and then there was a pause because you had to sit here and figure. And I'm here to let you know, Amari Bono is a fast, speedy guy, but just like how you said just now, when it comes to the bulk, having the strength to set the edge, he can't do it. And like I said, it was a bad pick by the last regime is what I'm going to say. Because this guy, to me, like I said, we went out and got just a guy. We didn't get out and get just a difference maker. We went out and got just a guy. And
see, I don't know if I'm ready to say that yet, though, Q. And I'm a go ahead and finish. Go ahead.
No, John, no. Think about it. They were trying to copy the mold of Brian Burns and get another speedy guy that can hit the opposite edge of him.
Right, of course.
And that was the plan. Like you said, you can see the plan, but you got the wrong person in that plan. And I just, it's going to take too long for Amari Bono to get to the pinnacles of where we need to get him to.
Get him, John. Get him, John. John, get him.
But this is the thing, though.
Get him, John.
I'll say this because you're not wrong. You're not wrong, but there's more context that can be provided in that discussion.
John, that goes back to that athlete and coaching that player.
That's
why pure athletic skill, his speed and everything coming around that corner.
Yeah.
So hey, tread lightly now. Tread lightly.
I saw a few times last year in the preseason where, just like Brandon Smith, he showed up. And I know he dealt with some injuries, so we didn't really get to see much more of him, after that. But the reason why I'm not saying you're wrong is because if I'm just going off of his tape from last year and that's the only thing that I have to see, here's what I would question. For anybody that would question any of these guys that were picked beforehand, right? What you have to ask is this, okay, how come we saw Brady Christensen improve when he got an opportunity? We saw Deontay Foreman nearly rush for 1,000 yards in less than or a little over half a season when he got an opportunity. Terrace Marshall had the highest. There was some stat that he had that was like the highest, like in red zone completion rate or something crazy, first down. I can't remember what it was when he got an opportunity. So I guess my question would be is like, okay, depending on how they draft, because let me tell you this, man. I said this before. Let me shout out Rashad. I gave a bold proclamation before in Rashad's honor, and I don't know if he ever heard this, but I'm gonna say it now if he's still in the chat. I said, man, listen, because Rashad put in work, Dave put in work. If you said they would be able to tell you better than I could. I only go off of what I see, and I listen to a lot of experts and stuff like that. That's why with these mock drafts, man, I'm trash at it, and I'm okay with that because I approach this from more of a fan perspective, just like we all do. But when I was talking about scouting players, if anybody in the Panther space told me that they saw Jeremy Chin coming and it wasn't Rashad, you lying. Like, he the only one that I can say, like, okay, yeah, he saw him coming. I didn't. Nobody else did. You know what I'm saying? Because, and that's the thing. He just happened to develop faster, though. Like, what if Barno could develop to become a guy like that? You know what I'm saying? Like, what if, I personally believe Brandon Smith is a guy. He just didn't get an opportunity. Like, I think that's why I haven't been big on this whole linebacker thing, because I'm like, yo, we might have him on the roster. Because I heard a lot of people calling this dude Michael Parsons light. And when you go back and look at his tape at Penn State, you can see why they called him that. And when you look at what he did last year in the preseason, you could kind of see the flashes of why they called him that. And I'm like, at some point, we got to start developing guys, but we got to build depth too. That's why at this pick, man, I wouldn't be opposed as to go, like, if Andrew Voorhees was on the board. Man, listen, the guard thing is going to be, we're going to have to pay attention to it at some point.
Andrew Voorhees sitting right there if you want to take him to really bolster up this line. But back to what you were saying about Brandon Smith, the guy just can't wrap up when it comes to making the tackles or knowing his placement and where he need to be on the field. And that's my one knock that I got against him. Once again, you said it, development. But the problem was last year we had most of our scouting team leave. Luke Kuechly was on the team. Then he found his way out. I mean, the people that's supposed to be bringing in the talent was walking out of the door, John. I mean, come on, brother. That scares me because I don't trust the assessment that's coming from these guys. And that's why we kept picking these players that weren't going anywhere.
But
some of these guys are not reaching the pinnacles.
But Q, we got
Dave Chin. He said give the credit to him. He said it was
Dave.
Okay,
yeah, I see that. Shout out to Dave there. But like I said, nobody else that I knew. Like, I remember seeing him on draft night. This was before I had a show. This was before I was doing anything. And I remember them showing the highlights of him at Southern Illinois. And I was like, yo, like, it was crazy, like, to see how he played, like, how he could just recover so fast. Now, granted, competition in that area. I mean, this is Steve Atwater's, nephew or whatever. But, like, yeah, I wouldn't have been able to tell you anything about him. You know what I'm saying? At all. So, yeah, salute to Dave.
Yeah.
All right. Man, shout out to those fellas, man. I watch them all the time, man. Look, in the Panther world, 1 and 2 right here for me is sitting right here. And also, I think I watch a lot of dunking as well, too.
Yeah, I like the dunk, man. Dunk content is dope. Yeah, I like him, man. I like everybody in this space, dog. Like, I don't really discriminate. Like, I didn't really know about y'all, but, like, I'm sub now and I'm, obviously he plugged in, but like I really do mess with everybody in this space. You know what I'm saying? Like, because everybody has a different perspective, everybody has a different angle, and everybody contributes. So yeah, salute to the real.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Man, brother. So you think an interior offensive lineman here, or how you feeling? Because I know y'all think Bryce is a little small, but I think he's gonna be fine. And I think our offensive line. Now, here's the thing with me, John. Now, at tackle, I hear everybody screaming that Taylor Moton, they're a little leery of him with his arthritis and him slowing down a little bit. I'm not worried about him for the next 2 years at least. In my book. Now, you look over, Brady Christensen has an injury. You think that 𝐥𝐸𝐬𝐬 will be there to jump in on the opposite end. We just got Bradley Bozeman back in. Left tackle is solidified with our guy. Do you see a need to really take an interior lineman to really bolster up this line for Bryce Young?
At 103.
I'm of the mindset that you can never have too many. Okay. We got guys that we drafted later. Like, one guy that I always expected that would, develop. I don't know if it was a weight issue or whatever like that with Deontay Brown.
There you go.
There you go.
There you go.
There you go, John. That should be the guy. That should be the guy.
John talking that talk.
If you wasn't on this show, I'd be talking about now when you brought up Deontay Brown.
Not like him, John. This guy was a beast.
Let me tell you something. I saw a play.
To be nice.
Listen. Okay, no. Check me out. Because, like I said, some people, like some guys, if you go to cross sports, Greg Oden might get killed for being a bust, but he couldn't help it. You know what I'm saying? Like, he wasn't healthy. It wasn't because of effort. Because when Greg Oden was out there, when it was not an injury situation, he will give you the work. Zion Williamson could be the same way. But Zion, it could be more mental and the physical aspect. I feel like it's the same thing with Deontay Brown. I don't think it's a lack of the effort. I think it might be potentially psychological. And then also the physical side is just a lot to overcome because he just naturally being a smaller, like he's not a super tall guy, but he just carries a lot of weight. But I'm going to tell you something. I saw a play. What convinced me was this. Anytime when you see guys that can do a specific thing consistently, like I saw Michael Jordan do this once. You know, Michael Jordan was in the Minnesota game. Anybody remember Robbie Anderson drops a pass? You know what I'm saying? It's 4th down. We're backed up in the end zone. We got to drive the length of the field and score in order for us to go into overtime. Sam Darnold throws a dart to Ian Thomas out of the end zone on 4th down, right? If you look at what Michael Jordan did on that play, it was great work because not only did he take care of his assignment, but then he picked up extra work after he realized his assignment was done. If they could do S2 cognition on offensive linemen, I think you would see that in that moment, he probably would have scored a 98. But the majority of the time, he probably scored a 5. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I saw Deontay do the same thing consistently at Alabama, and then I seen him do it in the league. So there was a play that I used to highlight. It was during the preseason game, and Chuba Hubbard broke off. It was during the Indianapolis preseason game. Chuba Hubbard broke off for like a 60, 70-yard run or whatever. Well, that run was predicated on what Deontay and Brady Christensen were doing as a tandem. And you couldn't have told me after watching that game, oh, those are two, that's the starting right tackle and guard right there. Like even with Taylor Moton, because of just how beautiful the chemistry was. Like these guys are connected. They understand it. They get it. Because I watched Deontay take his guy, pancake him. Brady Christensen get his guy out of the way. And while Deontay was falling and a linebacker was crashing down the blitz and A-gap, he moved just ever so slightly to help out the center. I think might have been Elfline at the time, or whoever it was starting at that point in the preseason game, and knock him off course. And Chuba ran right by him. And I was like,
I saw that same play.
That is championship level football, baby. And I'm
John,
like,
I've seen some of those plays, like you said in preseason, because we didn't see him that much, during the regular season. And I'm like, this dude is mauling people.
Yes.
Then you have somebody with the cachet of James Camping to come in. You've had guys that come here and say, I come here just because of Camping, and say, why is this guy not playing?
So the problem is, though, like I said, it's not what you can do once or twice. It's what you can do consistently. But again, how do you really truly grade? One of the people that I get killed for supporting, but I'm a homer. So, I know Troy Pride's family. Like we live close to each other. I used to live right around the corner from Troy Pride's mom and dad. As a matter of fact, there's a little guy that lives in my neighborhood now. I gave some gloves to that his mom gave me, the salute to service gloves or whatever. So naturally, I was upset when he got cut. I was like, man, and I still feel like to this day, I don't think Troy was cut because of play. I think one of it was because of injury, and he was having a really hard time coming back from injury. But I also think he was cut because of fighting Robbie Anderson. And Robbie is a who guy. You know what I'm saying? So I think that played into it as well. Yeah. But like, I'm like, man, how do we know what we really have on this roster? Because these guys could not develop players, man. 10 parking spaces for, individual players being taken away. You know what I'm saying? I read a story like that. Coach out here flipping her. And listen, I was a guy that was supporting Buddy. You know what I'm saying? So I'll take the L. I was out here saying like, man, give him some time. But then when you just start to peel back the layers, like, let me just go off the beaten path for like 2 seconds. Yeah. Man, my man literally went around. This why I'm so glad. Like, I'm so glad how Carolina was able to bounce back. Like, we didn't just bounce back, bro. We put together in the offseason one of the best, and that might just be on paper right now. Lord help us if it's we hope it's not just on paper. Right? Yeah. But I'll tell you this, we put together one of the best staffs in the history of this league, dog. When you look at all the conglomerate of talent and Super Bowl wins and all that kind of stuff over all this time. And this is coming on the heels of coming off of a season where we had a coach that literally destroyed this team and then went around to the media and tried to put smut on our name. Remember, this man was going around before we hired a coach, going to everybody who would listen. man, I wish I'd have took another job, man. You know what I'm saying? Trying to make David Tepper look crazy, and look how I bounced back on this, and we end up with the number one pick.
He told me 7 years, and he wanted it done in 3 years. I'd have picked all free agents. I mean, come on, man.
Yeah. Had I known it was on a 2-year job, I would have went out and got free agents and built the team the correct way. Oh, here we go. Here we go, Root. You see, I done did it again.
Yeah, you like to. You like to.
You boy, I got it loaded.
It's getting
man. Every time y'all say that man name, anxiety kick in. Oh God.
I have
let it go
all season with that guy, man. There's some games where I would just come on this live and just look because I was in disbelief. Oh, we gotta go. We gotta go back and look at the tape. Gotta go. Here we go. Here we go with this right here. So
look, I really might clip that one part right there off this, like, if you don't mind, when I talk about like, and put it on Twitter, because like, yo, that's real talk, bro. Like, my man, and not for nothing, like, I kind of understand it because he was getting smoked by everybody, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, publicly, online, you name it. You know what I'm saying? He had games, family trying to enjoy nights out and stuff like that. They saying fire you, you know what I'm saying? Stuff like that. So I get it. He's still a man, regardless of. But like, bro, like, hold it down, man. I talk about this all the time, man. Drake got one of the illest lines in any song in Stay Scheming. He said, "Shorty want to tell me secrets by her rap N-word. I tell that chick it's more attractive when you hold it down." I'm like, man, you ain't have to go around talking, you know what I'm saying, talking crazy.
Yeah. You know what? And this is the thing when it comes to your boy. I've detoxed myself of him, but every now and then I have to go back into that era. But when Steve Wilkes took over and he took the podium, you notice the immediate difference. You notice the answers that he had compared to what the other guy did. You notice, okay, he didn't have the best hand to work with, but he got out there and made lemons with lemonade.
That's
and
a
it
fact.
was good to see somebody come out here and speak. And not only speak, but be a leader of men.
Yeah.
Man, the other guy had guys in the locker rooms with headphones on, playing music and ignoring him the whole time. I mean, come on, bruh. Come on, man.
I mean, but it's not even speak on it like that this much, but it's only like the situation in Jacksonville. And Doug Peterson said when he first come in, he said he had to heal the team, the city, the organization, everything.
Yeah.
And that's where we were. I mean, we needed healing because, I mean, it was hard.
But it's good to reflect, man, because it lets you know, like, okay, I can look back and see where I was. Like, we can see Egypt, but we done went through the Jordan and we on our way to Canaan land. Like, we straight. Yeah. So let's get back to the draft. Man, if I had my drops, I'd go crazy right now.
Yes, sir. All right, we back up in here one more time. Okay, at 103, who you want?
Man, take Andrew Voorhees, man. I ain't no draft expert, man. Y'all, if I get an F, I get an F.
It's okay, brother. Like I said, we want to make sure that one, you get guys that's going to be able to help the team, and we right here along with you. We good.
Straight up.
Ain't nobody gonna be over here judging you on nothing.
Hey, I wouldn't care anyway. I don't get paid to make them kind of decisions. But all right. So the next, oh man, Henry To'oTo'o still on the board.
Yeah.
Garrett's still on the board.
That might be God's will right there. You might want to take a look at getting a second one because I'm gonna be real with you, John. Opposite of J.C. Horn, your boy, look,
shaky. But I got to step off for a second. Just a second.
Okay, I got you. My man, I can never remember his name off the top of my head. Oh,
CJ Henderson?
No, not CJ.
Oh, you talking about Dante Jackson?
Dante Jackson. I always call him Action Jackson. I could not find his name just now on the top of my head.
Call that man shaky ground.
Look, Action Jackson always has an injury. And when he's not injured, he's being burnt by speedy and shifty receivers. And I don't understand how a guy that runs as fast as he do out there from LSU can never – it's his technique, first of all. I do understand. It's his technique. He takes the worst approach to a shifty receiver or a speedy receiver in front of him. He takes the worst stance that you could have, and he always gets beat. But with that being said, you got him, Just like you said, C.J. Henderson, Keith Taylor, all to me are liabilities when it comes to coverage. J.C. Horn is the only sure thing in this cornerback room, so I wouldn't mind if we took an extra cornerback. I wouldn't mind it.
Well, and the beauty is that you would give Garrett Williams an opportunity to heal, to get better, even if you had to sit him for a while. You would hope that he would be ready, but I mean, he's super talented, man. So I mean, it's a heavy room, it's a loaded room, but like I said, some of these guys aren't gonna make it the roster. Plus, with Dante, man, I always wonder, like, I know he's not as big as Captain Munnerlyn, but with his speed and his vision, I always wondered if he would potentially take a similar role. I don't know, I doubt it, but let's go Garrett Williams.
Garrett Williams, all right.
And so we got CJ back there, and who's the other guy we got back there?
So right now, CJ, Keith Taylor,
Keith Taylor.
Yeah,
he'll probably take Keith Taylor's job immediately.
I'd love to see Keith Taylor develop, man, because he, that first year, man, when he got, because he kind of had to answer the bell due to injury, and he didn't play awful, but it wasn't up to, it wasn't starter level, but. Who knows? All right, go to let's see, scroll up a little bit. Go to let's see who. So right now we're just looking at BPA, right?
Yeah, we have best player available. Yes, sir.
We got all these extra picks, man.
Yeah, you got 3 more to go. And
scroll down a little bit.
If you ask me,
is Ivan Pace still on the board?
Who?
I was about to say, you just said it. Is Ivan Pace still on the board?
Pace. Let me look.
He is little, but he is a game wrecker.
We're not going. We're about to turn this to MFL, Midget Football League.
Midget Football League. Here we go.
Oh man, come on!
There you go.
Right there.
There you go.
I like Ivan Pace. I really do. I really do like him, but
you sound stressed out.
Because, man, it's gonna be a whole bunch of Kibblers L's running out there. I just can't, man. I can't do it, bro. Man.
Wait, scroll down a little bit. Oh, I thought that said Cam Smith. I'm like, what?
Cam Jones?
Yeah, nah. Isaiah Land's still on the board. Let's see. Go scroll down a little bit.
Okay.
That's the kid out of Florida A&M.
Mm-hmm.
Man, Isaiah Land is legit, bro.
What you know about him?
I mean, at that level, I didn't watch a whole lot of him. I watched some highlights, but he was a problem, especially obviously the bar in that division was Jackson State, but he gave a lot of those, schools big problems, and I can't remember who it was they played. It was like Auburn or they played some like Power 5 school or something, and he was in the backfield a lot. Like a lot. Like you always had to account for him. So he's solid. But I don't know if I can. Obviously we can't return the card back in, but I don't know if I can, justify taking Ivan Pace and then, taking him right behind. But
well, let me ask you a question, John.
Sure.
Now that we got Sanders in, or some people say Saunders, however you want to say it, tomato.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to be a big feature on his team. Do you think that we have enough help? Because looking at his size and then looking at Blackshear and Chuba, well, Chuba ain't got no hands. Blackshear, we're not really sure what he's going to give us.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think we need that thumper?
I think it depends, because in this, especially like if they draft Bryce, you can pretty much go ahead and guess. Like I saw a chart that showed the percentage of quarterbacks taking snaps out of shotgun. And in 2009, it was like 35%. Now it was 66% last year. And I think it was even higher for the Eagles, which, not for nothing. Let me just say this. When they brought in Miles Sanders, I think that was even further confirmation that they were drafting Bryce. Because, obviously when you look at what he done with Philly last year, and being able to have that much production out of shotgun, certainly isn't something that D'Onta Foreman could have done because he's more of a downhill runner. So that's why I'm not so sure. I think the shifty back is what you're going to have to. I mean, if you want to say grab another one just to be able to double down on that, I would say, yeah, I'm on board. But I don't think in this offense, I don't think the thumper is necessarily going to be like you're not going to I don't know how well a Foreman like guy or a bigger running back would fare, coming out of shotgun the majority of the time when he's not really got the opportunity to come more downhill, if that makes sense.
Well, the reason why I threw that out there is because if you notice, a lot of teams running three different running backs, and to keep Sanders, healthier longer, and if you need that 4th and 1, well, you're not going to do that with Bryce Young,
right?
I mean, you're just not. So I was thinking like either you can get him extra line help, because your running back can block, help you block with a big guy in there, or for that short yards when you need that 3rd and 1. Bringing that person in to help.
Yeah, I'm not against that. Let's look at the running backs.
Okay. There's a guy that I'm praying there's Chase Brown from Illinois, and he is a beast.
Yeah, he's still there.
Every time I see this guy, when he gets to the next level, he's a blur. And I'm talking about pew, and he knows how to run between the tackles. And I'm looking at him. He has 1,600 yards. I did a couple of videos on him, and it's like the more I see him, the more he reminds me of D'Angelo Williams. The more I see him, and I love what I get from this cat, man.
Yeah, I mean, and he could be, an Isaiah Pacheco kind of, steal, like last year for Kansas City. So, yeah, let's rock. Chase Brown.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's still there.
Yes, sir.
We got one more left. Heck no, trade with y'all.
Yeah, I took that one away. I was like, yeah, I know he ain't gonna want to trade. All right, let's go to best player available. All right, you got an option of getting a linebacker there. No, we already got Ivan Pace. I'm sorry.
Wow, Owen Papo is still on the board. That's interesting. I wouldn't be opposed to a defensive lineman. I see they gave you the suggestion there. I wouldn't be opposed to that.
You want to take a look at the defensive lineman here?
Yeah.
I think Morrow or Jomo?
Value.
Build some
definitely
depth.
Good value. Yes,
good
sir.
Value for where you're getting them at if you wanted them.
Speaking of defensive lineman, I caught the Deshaun presser. I love his personality, y'all. I love his personality. Sean Tuttle was hilarious, but Deshaun came up there. I mean, he seemed like you could tell that he's been through it, and that knowing that he's getting another opportunity, he's gonna really come out here and show out. He's gonna put all his effort on doing his best on that line beside Brown. I mean, that's a really solid pick. Just somebody who flew underneath the radar and having Evero bring him in on his word. So shout out to Evero being a man of his word. I like that.
Yeah.
It tells you a lot of what kind of men and coaching and players that we're bringing along, what kind of characters they have.
Yeah. I don't think he's going to be out of here as fast as people think. I think he'll be here minimum 2 years. 𝐥𝐢𝐤𝐵. And the reason is because I don't think that the trend, if I had to guess who are going to be the coaches next year that get fired, I'm going to say Dennis Allen, probably in New Orleans. Maybe even Arthur Smith with Atlanta. Brandon Staley with is it Brandon Staley? Is that the Chargers coach?
Yeah. He on the hot seat. He's definitely getting ready to be out of there.
I don't think you're going to see a ton of turnover next year. I think the Bears coach is probably safe.
Texans
Texans, because there was so much this year. Steelers, Mike Tomlin.
What about the Titans though? What about the Titans? Y'all thought about that?
Mike Vrabel?
Yeah.
I don't think so, and I think the reason is because that's a dark horse team to me that one of these like CJ or Will Levis, possibly even AR, I'd look for them to potentially, make a move up to the top of the board, or if one of these guys fall, one of these guys gonna fall, man. One of these quarterbacks gonna fall, and I think if they there,
Tennessee's been linked to talks with the 49ers for Trey Lance. So
wow.
I heard.
Okay.
Last night, that could be a potential like sleeper thing to happen. Is that trade happen? How would you feel about that?
I think that'd be cool because I'm gonna tell you why. Man, I'm about to get killed, man.
Go ahead, John. We've been watered down tonight for real. So it don't matter over here. Go ahead, say it.
Yeah, we've been keeping it real low key.
Yeah. Well, because I know that none of y'all are going to be in agreement with me on this, but I'm hoping this is one of those takes that you can age well and be like, you know what, John told us, and by God, if it didn't come true. But all right, I think that and this is a bold take that could blow up in my face, and I'm okay with it, but if I'm gauging off of what I saw in a small sample size at the end of the season for us last year, and I'm gauging off of a small sample size at what I saw at the beginning of the season last year, and he can stay healthy, I think that if Brock Purdy doesn't get back within this year and they do trade Trey Lance, the future quarterback for San Francisco is Sam Darnold. Like, I believe that Kyle Shanahan is going to turn Kyle Shanahan going to turn Sam Darnold into what we all thought that he could be. I really believe that. I don't think he's going to. If he wins that job out there, he'll never give it up. If he stays healthy.
He'll be the greatest coach ever. He'll be the greatest.
I know it's crazy. I know it's crazy.
John, you know what? For it to be crazy, yes, it is. But you're not the first person I've heard say that either. Shout out to Panther Pickle. He's not on here, but Panther Pickle said the same thing.
I'm telling you, man, like, because there's a couple of things. Number one, there's certain things you can't unsee. I can't unsee what I saw Sam Darnold do when things were working in his favor at the beginning of the season last year. I can't unsee when he came in last year.
John, 6 years.
Hey, man, Geno Smith. I mean, I saw people on Twitter saying like, hey, man, let's go get Geno. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, man, we got revisionist history. You know what I'm saying? Like, do y'all not remember the first whatever years of his career? But hey, listen, some guys develop, and not to mention, you know who Sam Darnold is the same age as coming in the league? Hendon Hooker. Sam Darnold's the youngest starting quarterback in the history of the NFL as a rookie. He was 21 years old. He is still he's only like 25. So like, he basically learned on the fly. And I got to think, if you're going to give someone like Anthony Richardson time to develop, why not him? Especially in the right situation. Because I saw the one thing you can't discount is this. I can name a few quarterbacks that were under Kyle Shanahan that had a different level of success than they ever seen when they separated from him. Robert Griffin, Matt Ryan, Baker Mayfield. What was it? Wait, no, it wasn't Baker. Who was he was in Cleveland, but who was the quarterback at that time when Kyle Shanahan was in Cleveland?
Was it Johnny?
No, it's the other boy. He was 28 years old, the oldest rookie ever. What's his name?
Was it Brandon Whedon?
Brandon Whedon.
Really?
I think it was Whedon.
I don't know. I can't remember who was the quarterback that year that he was coaching them. It might have been Johnny. Okay, we can scratch him off the list. But more often than not, like, bro, that year after we went to the bowl, when Atlanta went to the bowl, bro, they was I hate giving Atlanta credit. I really do. They were smoking people, bro. What they did to Green Bay in the NFC Championship game was embarrassing. Wasn't it like 45-8?
What they did in the Super Bowl was embarrassing.
Yeah, because I mean they were.
But that told you how high power that offense was, man. But it's just like no adjustments after the second half.
That's a fact.
What happened? Where did they go?
But it's always it's always a coin flip, because like if Emmanuel if Jimmy hit Emmanuel and he catch it, like if he don't overthrow him, they beat Kansas City. If Jared Goff, because I know people were saying like, and even I said this, CJ Stroud's comp is Jared Goff. Well, if he didn't underthrow and Stephon Gilmore pick it off in the Super Bowl and he hit Brandon Cooks, they win that game. You know what I'm saying? So it's an inch game, man. It's a game of inches. So it can always flip the other direction. But the point I'm making is this, is like, I just think that if he gets that opportunity out there with all that he's been through, I talked about how he could be a great mentor, for whoever was next here. But I think he has a fire to want to start. And there was a rumor that before we went and, you know, gave up the farm for him, that was the destination. Like Kyle Shanahan wanted him, you know? So who knows how that turns out?
Yeah, because I even had this optimistic look that said, well, you know, like I said, I gave it the benefit of the doubt. When everybody said, okay, he was in a dumpster fire over there in New York. And I was like, okay, you know, just like you just said, that happens. But when he came over here these 2 years, and well, I say we were a dumpster fire, but we were in it, so we didn't see it. So I give you that. I give you that. He's been in 2 bad places, really. Tell you the truth.
He has. Yeah. I mean, and that accounts for something, man. Like some guys can overcome that, and then some guys can't. And then some guys, like this is, you know, because I know when people were talking about like Deshaun Watson, like this is why you have to hone in on the fact that this is a team sport. Like, bro, Deshaun Watson's stat line, like the year before he got in all that trouble, was ridiculous. Like it was like 35 tugs to like 9 picks and like a 70% completion percentage, and they was 4-12.
Yeah.
In probably the worst division in football.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, you know, it is 100% a team sport. So it can't all be blamed on the QB, but it is a very essential and important position, which not for nothing, you know, I don't know if he did that or not. I don't, you know, I ain't talking about that. But I know this, with the off season, Cleveland will be a team I'd keep my eye on for sure.
John, I got a question for you. And this is a do you agree or disagree question. And it's only a if this happens. Whoever we draft at QB, do you believe that they would be the rookie of the year? If they start.
Yes.
Shout out to Big John, because that's my bold statement. If they start, whoever it is, if they start, they will be the rookie of the year.
Yes, sir. You can clip that. That is now on film. Yes.
Yeah, if they start, I strongly believe that. Yeah. I mean, if I'm going with who I pick and it's Bryce, absolutely. I think Bryce could come into this league and play even faster than he did at Alabama because of the faster players that are here. Like, you got to think, like, on a college roster at any given time, 30% of your guys are going to be really good. 2% of those guys are going to be NFL level. And the rest of those guys will be working at your local car shop, oil change place, or selling insurance. Oh. You know what I'm saying? So, like, I'm just keeping it a buck. So, like, not only the competition, but the guys you play with as well. Because some of these guys that can make it to the league might not even necessarily be that good at the next level. And then some of these guys, like I said, the one thing with being able to process fast is like, man, like, who knows if I watched a lot of Shi Smith's drops last year be balls that were thrown behind him, and not for nothing, I watched quite a few that was thrown in, you know, where he could catch them. But if he's led more, I mean, who's to say he don't turn into a slot machine? You know what I'm saying? Like with the right kind of accuracy and perfect precision throwing.
My only problem with Shi is if I need him to stop doing all that yapping and focus on them concentration catches. Because if it hits your hands,
drugs to do that, Pop. He want to be a drug lord. So
that and doing that, because when old buddy went and talked about, he said, yeah, this little corner, he's doing all this yapping at the mouth, but he can't even catch the ball. He need to shut up and focus, and that's his problem. He's doing too much of this instead of focus on your job at hand.
Yeah, I think,
and he's another person that job is on the line. You heard it here first.
I would agree with that. And I also think that 39th pick could be very telling, because depending on who's there, like, because that slot, I mean, the slot is wide open. You know what I'm saying? They'll, you know, I heard them ask Frank in the press conference, you know, are you going to go just a traditional XYZ, or are you going to kind of move things around as the players are, you know, presented? And I think the reason why he answered that I'm just going to move things around, you know, and let players play, you know, where they play, is because it's like, well, I'm not so sure what we have right now solidified, you know, even in the slot. So, like, I mean, because Chark is going to be an X. Like, I don't see where Chark lines up in the slot, because he's more of a, you know, stretch corner route, you know, deep threat, if you will. But that slot is wide open. That's why I would pay attention to a guy like Tank Dell or Josh Downs, or there's a guy out of Purdue that I can't remember his name, but he's another guy that kind of he's in that Cooper Kupp kind of line or whatever. So definitely pay attention to that. But let's make this last pick real quick, man, so we can get off this draft.
Yeah. All right, who you want?
Man, take the D tackle. Let's just go best available.
Yes, sir. And that really shows it up for him, man. Shout out to him for this draft. Bryce Young, Jonathan Mingo, Riley Moss, Andrew Voorhees. These are some really good picks, by the way, if I do say so myself. Garrett Williams, Ivan Pace, Chase Brown, and I never heard of Morrow. So, that guy is new to me, but I like the draft because it gives me a little bit of comfort at all those positions where we need help at.
Yeah.
Gives me comfort. So how y'all feeling about that? Y'all good? Y'all want me to do one, or y'all good?
I mean, I like the draft. I think it hit on everything that we needed and some.
Yeah.
But for me, it's always going to be King Richardson, the 15th.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
You think if we do draft him, man, you think Laviska gonna come off that 15? He been wearing that thing forever.
He better.
Oh, yeah, he got to. I heard he was willing to change his number. Am I right about that, Pop?
That's what we heard.
That's what I heard.
I think the only reason that Matt Corral hasn't switched to 2, because I mean that's inevitable. That's it. That's if he is still on the team. But like the only reason he hasn't switched is because then that would make it too obvious.
I'm gonna tell you like this. When Matt Corral is brought up, I cringe instantly because I've sat here for months and heard people tell us that we should go with Matt Corral over our number 1 pick. That you don't trade up and then say, okay, well, I got Matt Corral. That's something that you would have considered before you even thought about doing that if he was that guy. And people don't seem to understand that.
Yeah, I feel bad for him though, man, because there was never really a scenario outside of what presented itself last year, which was, it was wide open for him too, man. Like if he was going to be the guy, last year was his only opportunity to get that. You know what I'm saying? Because of, all the injuries at quarterback, he definitely would have been in the rotation, so he would have got an opportunity. And then the injury, situation happened. Matt Corral would have to show something in training camp that would be absolutely ridiculous for them to even consider him, as QB2. But I have a conspiracy theory that suggests that when they showed that video of him in mini camp, planting his foot, moving around, everything like that, throwing the ball, I would not be shocked if Matt Corral is part of a draft day trade to acquire picks.
Oh, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. See, just like they took PJ, last year they took PJ on this tour to try to trade him. It's going to be the same thing with Corral. Yeah. And then he is the absolute definition of desperation pick from the previous regime. So, and they didn't do nothing but mess up this guy's career. If some people think that he could have been a good backup for somebody or a good starter somewhere, bringing him here just bombed his career. It just messed his career.
And you want to talk about a guy with a really high arc to be successful? It's him, because I have this theory, and I was talking about this, and Anthony Richardson could play into this. If you want to have any question about Bryce Young and his ceiling, right? If the ceiling talk is the talking point, if that's the issue, right? That we see what his ceiling is and he won't get any better than this, then I could level with you on that argument. And the reason is because Bryce was given an opportunity to do what many of these other guys weren't able to do because of made men. So follow me on this. Nick Saban, made man. Bill O'Brien, regardless of what you think of him and what he did in the NFL with the Texans or anybody else, that's a made man. Bill O'Brien will always have a job because of his work with New England, just like Charlie Whitehurst did for all those years. Whether it was Notre Dame, Florida, coming back to the NFL, not Whitehurst. God, what's the coach? Charlie, big guy, offensive coordinator for the won the first couple of Super Bowls with New England. But anyway, he was the coach of Notre Dame, coach of Florida at one point or whatever like that. I think he might have been an OC at Florida or whatever like that. So like, just like old ball coach Spurrier, all these guys are made men. So what does that mean? That means that I can do things a little differently than the guys who are always coaching for their job. So like Billy Napier, for example, and his offensive, people, Billy Napier is probably a year away from being canned at Florida. So with AR, what am I going to do? Do I care about AR's development? Heck no. Man, I'm going to use every skill this guy has. Man, go look at his completion percentage. I got a chart. If I could pull it up, I would. There's a chart where it shows AR's completion percentage down the field, which is miles above anybody else on passes 31 yards or longer, right? So they was letting this guy run the ball and uncork it down the field as far as you can.
Uncork it out of that's their whole offense.
Yes,
their whole offense.
And so that's the point that is about Anthony Richardson that is so interesting and why you don't know what he can be, because they didn't care about his development, man. They were trying to win football games. And Matt Corral, unfortunately, fell under that same umbrella because Lane Kiffin is the RPO specialist, right? So I got a quarterback that can run the RPO, and that's all I'm going to do. So the thing about Matt Corral that you don't know is, can he operate within an offense where the RPO doesn't predicate what a linebacker does, and he's able to read that and be able to go to a receiver accurately, not just because he's clearly accurate, but can he do that without the help of the RPO? Can he do that from behind center? Can he do that in shotgun when it's just throw a hitch, but or throw a bang gate or a slant or a corner without putting that ball in the hand of a running back to take a linebacker out of position? Can you do that? And in the preseason, we didn't see it that much. One, because he wasn't asked to do it, but the few times he was in that Washington game, it was a struggle, because it's going to be a struggle for him to be able to develop those skills. And that's what I think about was unfair for him.
That's facts.
You know what? Shout out to everybody in the chat right now. If you're watching, please like this video and make sure that you show love over to One Carolina. Subscribe to his channel as well. We appreciate each and every one of you guys for being in here tonight. Fellas, what do y'all have left for my dog John over here? Because this has been a treat for me. I'm over here. I'm in awe. I'm enjoying myself.
Come on, man. Man, listen, I have fun in this space, man. Like, I'm as much of a fan as I am. So as a matter of fact, shout out to my boy 𝐿𝐥𝐤𝐬 Allen, man. Him and his lovely wife are welcoming their baby girl into the world this evening, man. Or the baby girl or baby boy. I'm sorry, I may be wrong on that, CK, but
I think it's a girl.
Yeah. So shout out to CK, man. So I don't know if he's going to be available for their draft party tomorrow, but I'm a fan of them, man. Shout out to I saw PNP in the chat earlier. Shout out to you guys, man. Like, I just love this space in general, man. So like, I'm humbled to be here, man. I'm honored, to be here, and appreciate you guys having me for sure.
No doubt.
Yeah, we appreciate you coming through.
Man, look at here. The first of many here on Black Cat Panther Podcast. I will be keeping my eye on I keep my eye on everything that everybody do around here. So I'll definitely be in the chats. We definitely got to collab soon again, man. This has been
absolutely
nothing short of a blessing to have you here.
Yeah, next time I got to have you guys at my crib, man.
Yeah, welcome us on into the house. Yeah. Let me keep my shoes on.
I'll bring the wine.
Yeah. We go crazy, man. Like, so that's the one thing I'm looking forward to doing more than anything else is like, now that I've worked out all the kinks with my, stream and the new software and all that kind of stuff and all the things that I can, bring into that, and introduce as far as, just the aesthetics of the show or whatever like that. I'm ready. I'm at the point now where I'm ready for guests. So definitely I'll be hitting you guys after this draft, man, getting this out of the way so we can start talking about training camp and what we're looking forward to.
Man, look at here. This has been, nothing short of incredible. Next Monday night, we're going to have draft reactions. So we're going to hopefully have Cody from C3 on the show. This is going to be pretty big as
That's my brother, man.
Yes, sir. Yeah. You don't want to miss that next Monday night. So we're going to start, getting some faces in here that everybody knows, man. Just, mixing and matching around here.
Yes,
showing that love. Fellas, what y'all got?
Also tomorrow at 12, We're gonna have a regular GOAT talk. And then we're gonna do that from 12 to probably it's gonna go long. We're gonna be here all day. So GOAT talk tomorrow at 12, and we're gonna run that to 3. Then I'm gonna go over to Mud Inc. Outlaw TV, the Mudding channel, and we're gonna do that giveaway. Subscriber only giveaway. We got 5 gifts to give away, and we're gonna do that every hour on the hour. Then we come right back to Black Cat Panther Podcast and Draft Night Live.
That's what's
So
up.
it's gonna be a big day tomorrow from 12 to 8 until. So let's get it, y'all.
Everybody gonna be lit tomorrow. And the beautiful part about when it's a big event like this, whether it's a game that we win or after a game, like I mean everybody, because I know for me, like if I'm speaking for how I used to be when I was more of a fan before I was doing live shows and stuff like that. I was hop from one place to the other. I'd be, as a matter of fact, I'd have one show running on my phone, the other one on my computer, and one on my TV. You know what I'm saying? Just watching everybody's reaction. And then I would kind of like type in, whatever like that. And I see that often. Like when I go live sometimes and some of the other guys are live, I'll see them kind of, hopping back and forth because I pay attention to other chats and things like that as well. So like, yeah, it's dope. It's dope. It's going to be, and tomorrow going to be fire, man. It's going to be a lot going on tomorrow.
You want to see Q explode? You bring Will Levis in this building, and you gonna see me. I'm gonna be through the roof. I might throw. Look, you don't want to see that.
But if they draft Will, look like if obviously after the initial shock, I'll be on board. But the initial shock of them drafting Will Levis, I told Keeb, I was like, fam, if they do it, I might walk off camera for like 20 minutes. Like I might just let the show run, and you just be taking calls or whatever. I might literally, because I'm telling you, I don't know how I'm gonna react, man. I'm just like,
you know how you're gonna react. You know how you're gonna react. You're gonna lose it,
bro. Twitter is going to. You will literally see your phone melt if they draft.
Right,
John. I always said Bible Belt and a box of Bojangles billboard. Would this guy look good? Right there.
I mean,
it's a business first, bro. You
know what Kendall is saying? You know what Kendall is saying? Kendall is saying that being that he's a wonderful, that he would be way more marketable. He would be the face of Charlotte, the Bible Beltway. He would be that guy. That's what Kendall is alluding to when he say that.
No, I don't. Kendall, you my guy. I don't agree with that at all. And the reason is because one, because of Cam. 2, because I mean, for the longest time, who was the face of North Carolina? I'm talking about the blackest of all of us, Michael Jordan. I'm talking about dark.
John. For the last 2 years, man, do you know I bought 9 jerseys. In the last little while, because they went down to $90.
Mm-hmm.
They went down from $142 to $90 in this economy, where everything's going up. Panther jerseys went down. So I'm saying. It's like Thunderdome. We need another hero. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, we do.
Superman .2 is what you sound like you need.
Hey.
We do.
And like I said, it's a business first. We got to have some marketing. But I don't want that either. I don't want to see. I don't care. The jersey go down to $1 for me before I get that. You know what I'm saying?
Man, you know what would be poetic justice though? It would just be just like Frank Reich to coach a Carolina Super Bowl team. Because I think just as much as winning the Super Bowl, man, how you win it and who wins it is equally to me as a fan important. Like let me give you an example. You draft Trey Lance, but Brock Purdy ends up going to the NFC Championship and almost winning the Super Bowl. You know what I'm saying? It's like. For us on the outside looking in, we like, oh, that's what's up. The little buddy got off. But like for the fans, they like, nah, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm sure the Philly people love getting the bowl, but they probably thought like, man, I want Wentz to win. You know what I'm saying? Like he was on the MVP tear, and Nick Foles wins it, and he gets a statue. Like the first Super Bowl we win, I don't want it to be a backup. You know what I'm saying? Like that's just, I mean, of course Brady was that too, essentially, but. I don't know. Just for me, I'm just like, man, it would be wild if it was like what if like Andy Dalton started the whole year and we just went crazy, bro. Like we just went
that would be
crazy.
Wild.
That would be wild.
You said I remember that, man. I remember when Brady come in, when Bledsoe got hurt, and then You got the big tuna sitting on the sideline. You know, Bill was on the sideline. Man,
Yeah.
I remember them days. And then they let Bledsoe Black in. You remember the crowd went crazy when Bledsoe came back in.
They sure
had
did.
the game won.
Yep.
And then they let Bledsoe. Man, like you hit that dead on the head, John. I remember watching that Super Bowl and it was like, man, wow.
Yeah.
That really
You know,
happened.
Kendall, I'm just not willing. I mean, whoever they take tomorrow, I gotta accept it. I'm just not willing to see the first small baby Bojangles box with chicken nuggets in it.
Oh, here
Talking
we
about
go.
come get your Bryce Bow box.
See, y'all got the jokes now,
Listen,
but when
man,
Bryce is out there
I can't
winning
wait.
games, when he out there winning games, y'all gonna regret all those jokes.
Thank you,
Stop
man.
it.
Not just
Y'all
when he
stop
winning
it.
games. Not just
Get your
winning games. When he out here, I don't think y'all understand this. Like, I don't know if y'all saw this. I copped 2 copies. The Sports Illustrated cover. I'm telling you, that Sports Illustrated was legendary, bro. Because if he does do that's going to be a legendary Sports Illustrated cover. Like, it's gonna be Bron level, like Mike level, like, because he is such an anomaly. If he comes into the league and is successful, the Panthers, as a content creator, selfishly, I'll say, man, we gonna be lit, bro. We gonna be, if he's successful, we gonna be lit.
What?
Yeah. I also wanted to extend the hand to Keeb, man. Keeb is another deep thinker. He disappeared for a while. I'm so glad he's back on the scene.
Yeah, that's my dog.
That's another guy that when he breaks down people, I mean, he knows it all about them. I mean, he breaks it down from the good, the bad, the ups, the downs. Like, he's a real deep thinker, and he takes his time explaining why he thinks the way he thinks about certain players.
Yeah.
And I love that because he has a different philosophy about where he's coming from. It's not just irrational thoughts. It's well thought out. So Keeb, anytime you want to come through here, bro, come hit us up, bro. I'm waiting to get on here
Yeah,
with you.
you're welcome, man. I like I said, I love Keith, man. Like I said, Keith even breaks down like contracts. You know what I'm saying? Let's do the breakdown contracts, man. I mean, I love talking to somebody that's educated about the team, man, and got passion about the team like that.
Yeah, I agree with that, man. And not for nothing, man, because I know that so much has been made of, when I talked about my origin story, and I'm kind of going off the beaten path for a second because I know in this space, like I just because I don't talk about what's going on, I see what's going on. I see stuff that happens, and I can understand how, different relationships and those relationships severing and stuff like that can, like throw things off or whatever like that. But, I talk about Drake all the time. There's a line in the song that he did with Jay-Z called Pound Cake. And it was Jay-Z that actually said it. And he was listing off the people that he made millionaires, right? And I'm not saying this from that perspective, so please don't misconstrue what I'm saying. But he said, Just made millions, Cam made millions, Beans made millions. He'll tell you if he wasn't in his feelings. You know what I'm saying? And like, I gotta really like all the relationships that I've built in this space. I mean, it really truly is like, regardless of what anybody thinks about him, it's connected to one person, man. Cat. I mean, that's why I always give it up. It don't matter if me and him was at odds or whatever like that. That man I'm never gonna say nothing. I don't say bad nothing about nobody, but I'm not gonna say nothing bad about him. What happened between him and other people ain't got nothing to do with me. But at the same time, I'm always giving him his flowers because I'm like, I'm not in this space if it's not for him, man. And I just have to be honest about it. You know what I'm saying? And so salute to bro. You know what I'm saying? I see what you're doing over there. Keep doing your thing. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. Being that I was on his show for a little while, for an extended period of time, man. That guy, like I said, like you said, whether you see eye to eye or not, everybody have their differences in opinions, but that guy took time out of his day. He showed me thumbnails. He showed me different stuff like how to navigate YouTube, like tags and stuff like that. So you notice, like whenever I made my split, you didn't hear me say anything. I didn't say anything.
This is news to me because I didn't even know you was on the show. Like, so that's news to me. But see, but like I said, man, like it's just my relationship with 𝐤𝐤𝐬 that was cultivated by a relationship that was from a previous relationship on his show. It all connects back to him. That's why I always give it up. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, I don't talk to him like one-on-one as much as we, you know what I'm saying, should probably or used to, because I certainly don't want him to feel alienated in this space. And I can see how that, especially lately, how that's been happening. So if he's listening or anybody else in this space that is connected to him is listening, like, no, bro, like listen, you got a coaching tree out here. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got a coaching tree out here. And
definitely. Definitely.
You got to be respected because of that. Like, you got to be respected because of that. So salute.
Yeah. No, most definitely. And I'll be the first one to say it. You know, respect the big cat for that, man. You know, I wouldn't be sitting here, like you said, you wouldn't be sitting here. There's a bevy of other guys that wouldn't be here. So, you know, respect is due where it's due at. You know, I appreciate him for doing that. You know, opening his doorway to let me in. So, you know, shouts out to them. You know, this is one of the things what it's all about, spreading Panther love. We all can do it on any platform. I believe we all can come together on any platform.
Yeah.
So I've always been the person that, hey, I'm approachable. Nobody, you know, I don't want to be the boogeyman of the Panther world or nothing like that. But I understand that everybody's not for me. So I understand where that lane is at as well. But, you know, I'm one of those ones where I love to rock with people and I show people love. So that's how I've always been. When it was Black Cat Panther or whether when I switched the name to Between the Lines, I still was, you know, showing love to people.
Right.
Hey, on that note, yo, let's try to get Pat Coltrane back because that's my favorite, bro. That's my favorite, bro.
Pat was live tonight. He was live tonight.
I feel like Pat missing his calling, man. He need to be a comedian. That's one of the just you know how people just say stuff like when he one of them people that can just say something and you'll just start laughing like crazy because just how he talk, man. But yeah, Pat legit. I love Pat, man.
Pat, man, love him, bro. Pat, if you hearing that, Poppin is asking you to come back, man.
He got real love out here. Yeah, I agree. He got real love out here, man. I think he will, man. Because especially, like I said, this is a good time to if you're gonna be in it, this is the time to be in it, man. Because like when they start winning, it's gonna be crazy, bro.
Yeah. But see, that just tells you how passionate Pat is because, like Pat said, you know, it just hurt him so bad. You know what I mean? Couldn't deal with it. You know.
Yeah.
Week in and week out. So it's like.
And his neighbors.
I didn't watch as many games. I just started watching college ball to start seeing quarterbacks. I mean, I wasn't even really into it on Sundays. Like,
it was hard, man. It was hard. Man, it was very hard, man. Especially like, you know, watching them, you know, line up in empty court, you know, quarterback. Everybody's lined up. I mean, it's just like a straight line across the line of scrimmage. You know, Darius Slay was like literally laughing at us in the media, man. We just sitting on top of the routes. I'm like, man, how did we get this bad? This is crazy.
Yeah.
You know what makes it so funny? And I know the real when the real dagger hit Pat Coltrane, and I ain't trying to tell his business, but he put it out there so everybody knows whoever follows him. Is when you walk outside and you look to your left and your neighbor is a Buccaneers fan and they got their flag in the air.
Yeah.
They don't want a Super Bowl. You mad as hell, bro. That's got a sting, man.
Yeah, big time.
So, Pat, if you hear this, man, come back, bro. We need you out here.
Yeah, yes, that's a fact.
Well, I tell you like this, fellas, we got to definitely do this again, man. John, anytime our doors is open over here, we appreciate you for showing up tonight, man.
Absolutely,
this has been all from Black Cat Panther Podcast, man. We had one Carolina in the building.
Hey, keep pounding.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.